Chapter 1526. This is the Chan World Tower. The first time you enter, you can obtain a World Tower crystal. By using the World Tower crystal, you can obtain all the treasures you want in the Chan World Tower. The ancient voice rang out in his ears, echoing around the crystal-like tower. Lin Feng's eyes sparkled. He looked at the thumb-sized crystal in front of him and smiled. No matter what the World Tower crystal was used for, at least the secret of the first king's heavenly pass had been solved. Just as he had guessed, there were at least 10 Black Cloud Stream paths Chan World Tower. Lin Feng murmured. Was this place related to the Chan River? He looked around. There was nothing special about this place, except for the mountain-like crystal tower in front of him. Lin Feng put away the World Tower crystal and walked forward. The Chan World Tower was made of crystal and towered into the clouds. He couldn't see the top. In front of this crystal tower, everything was so small. There was a transparent door of light in front of the crystal wall. Lin Feng reached out to touch it, but an invisible force rejected him. Lin Feng's heart skipped a beat. His gaze fell on the transparent door of light, and a small hole in the shape of a crystal tower entered his eyes. Looks like this is why you gave me the World Tower crystal. Lin Feng smiled and pressed the only World Tower crystal into the hole in the transparent door of light. In an instant, the door condensed illusory light and rippled like water. Suddenly, with a pa sound, it disappeared. The Chan World Tower opened. By using the World Tower crystal, you can obtain all the treasures you want in the Chan World Tower. Lin Feng couldn't help but smile when the ancient voice appeared in his mind. He originally had one World Tower crystal, but now he didn't have any left. Even if he opened the secret of the first trial and came to this strange Chan World Tower, without the World Tower crystal, what could he exchange for? Whoosh! Entering was like entering a mountain of crystal treasures. All kinds of strange treasures entered his eyes. There were all kinds of chaos hole treasures, Chan river lights of different colors and shapes, and heaven and earth fruits full of energy. Every single one of them seemed to have been frozen and turned into crystal sculptures. At the bottom of the crystal sculpture, there was a sunken hole. It was exactly the same as the transparent door outside. Some had only one hole, while others had 2, 3, 4, or even 5 holes. And this was just the tip of the iceberg. Lin Feng swept his gaze around. The deep crystal tunnel contained countless treasures, but the problem was without the boundary tower crystal, nothing could be exchanged. There's no reason. It's impossible to enter a treasure mountain and not give you anything. Lin Feng understood this in his heart. He immediately went deeper in. If that was the case, there was no need for the first checkpoint to be so hidden. After taking a few steps forward, his eyes lit up. It was a different shape from the crystallized sculpture. It was a huge crystal pagoda, tall and majestic. It looked very similar to the boundary pagoda crystal, but it was empty inside. Lin Feng exclaimed in surprise. He examined the crystal pagoda from top to bottom and smiled. I see. With a flash of light in his hand, he took out a white bead and dropped it into the only gap at the top of the crystal pagoda. The tiny circular gap was just enough to accommodate the white bead. As the white bead fell, it immediately turned into a light white light and melted into the crystal pagoda. One bead, another bead. When the 10,000th bead was counted, the light formed by the white beads filled the entire crystal pagoda. The empty crystal pagoda became saturated and perfect. A white rainbow streaked across. An illusory light flowed and enveloped the crystal pagoda. Strange energy entwined, and the huge crystal pagoda shrank rapidly. The energy kept increasing and fusing perfectly. Soon, it turned into a boundary tower crystal. The first one. Lin Feng smiled and put it away. When he first entered the Imperial Palace's Heaven Pass, the ratio of black beads to white beads was 15:1. Later, it became 10:1, and gradually shrank. In the end, the ratio was close to 3:1. Therefore, when he collected 1 million black beads, the number of white beads reached 140,000. After opening the yin-yang door, he used up 110,000 beads and had about 30,000 left. I can exchange for a total of 3 boundary tower crystals. Lin Feng quickly found the second crystal pagoda and fused 10,000 white beads into it, transforming them into a boundary tower crystal. Soon, he finished exchanging all the crystals. With 3 boundary tower crystals in hand, he could exchange them for 3 ordinary treasures or 1 pretty good treasure. Along the way, Lin Feng had a rough idea of the treasures he could exchange for with the boundary tower crystals. What he had the most were chaos treasures. Therefore, he could tell the value of chaos treasures at a glance. 1 boundary tower crystal can only be exchanged for an inferior grade top chaos treasure. 2 realm pagoda crystals for a mid-grade top-tier chaos cavern dark treasure. 3 boundary tower crystals can be exchanged for a superior grade top chaos treasure. 5 boundary tower crystals can be exchanged for a superior grade top chaos treasure. It was easy to distinguish. The Chan River itself only contained the natural essences of light, lightning, and earth, the yin and yang energies, as well as the 5 elements of water and wood. The only low-grade top-notch chaos hole treasures were water and wood. The mid-grade ones contained yin and yang energies, and the high-grade ones contained light, lightning, and earth. It's not very useful. Lin Feng continued walking. Or, to put it more bluntly, it was useless. He had a lot of chaos treasures, and he had quite a few peak chaos treasures. Why would he care about a top-grade chaos treasure? However, it was extremely precious to the other Chan River Demon race. There were already very few chaos treasures in the Tung Chi continent, let alone in the Chan River Demon race. A top-grade chaos treasure was enough to make a group of Chan River Demon race members, including the master of the Black region, fight over it. However, there was a huge pile here. As long as one had enough boundary tower crystals, they could be exchanged. This Chan boundary tower is not ordinary. Lin Feng sighed. Although he wasn't interested in chaos treasures, there were more than just chaos treasures here. The light of the Chan River, which contained light, earth, and thunder, was very useful to him. All kinds of heaven and earth fruits were also rare treasures. However, there were only 3 boundary tower crystals. Even if he was in a treasure mountain, he could only dig up a corner of it. It's good enough that you have it. Lin Feng didn't care. Compared to the other Chan River Demon race members, this was the first Royal Palace Heaven Pass, which was originally uneventful. He had already obtained something, so he was content with what he had. There was still a long time before the 5-year deadline, so he wasn't in a hurry. Lin Feng slowly strolled around the treasure mountain, hoping to find something good. Although there were only 3 boundary tower crystals, as the saying went, no matter how small a mosquito was, it was still meat. He had to make the best use of it. He slowly went deeper. The Chan boundary tower wasn't small, but it wasn't big either. Soon, he reached the end. Oh, Lin Feng's eyes lit up as he looked at the end. Chapter 1527. What he saw was a transparent door of light. It was almost the same as the one he had seen before. Through the door of light, he could see a long passage. It was deep and long, and the steps were like a path to the sky. It was fascinating. Clearly, this was the staircase to the upper levels of Chan World Tower. However, it was blocked by a door of light. Lin Feng reached out to touch it, but an invisible force bounced him back. His gaze fell on the bottom of the transparent door of light. The 10 holes were clearly visible. Each hole was in the shape of a crystal tower. It was very obvious. To get to the upper levels, you need 10 realm tower crystals, Lin Feng murmured. Even if he had 10 realm tower crystals now, he wouldn't spend them here. The treasures on the upper levels were obvious. Each one was probably worth at least 10 realm tower crystals. Even if he spent 10 realm tower crystals, he wouldn't be able to exchange for any treasures. Oh, Lin Feng muttered to himself. Now that he had 3 boundary tower crystals, it was clear that he had to use them, because it was still unknown whether he would come to this boundary tower again. His gaze fell on the left corridor. Lin Feng pondered and started exploring again. The entire realm tower level was in the shape of a ring. He had come from the right and hadn't explored the left side. Perhaps that side, was there a more attractive treasure? Filled with curiosity and anticipation, Lin Feng continued exploring. The light of the Chan River was very tempting. To Lin Feng, the best treasure on this level was the light of the Chan River. It was hard to find outside. When he was in Tang Xian's territory, the breakthrough of his light bloodline was still vivid in his mind. The Chan River's light here had Realm 1 Tower Crystal, Realm 2 Tower Crystal, Realm 3 Tower Crystal. The highest was Realm 5 Tower Crystal. The light of the Chan River in Realm 5 is comparable to the Chan River Source Realm's light of the Chan River. Lin Feng was very sure. He had absorbed it before. One had allowed him to break through on the way of light. From small success to large success. It contained the ultimate elemental origin, the essence of the Chan River. The light of the Chan River in the 3 Realm Towers crystal probably only contains 50% of the Earth essence in the 5 Realm Towers crystal. No matter how outstanding the Tyrant Dragon clone's Earth essence is, I'm afraid it'll be difficult for it to reach the mastery level. Lin Feng frowned slightly. If he used it on his main body, regardless of whether it was the Tao of Light or the Tao of Light Speed, it would be even more difficult to break through to the large success realm. He couldn't get a high position, but he couldn't get a low one either. It would be a bit of a waste to exchange for it like this. But if he didn't exchange for it, what else was worth exchanging for? In exchange for the heaven and earth fruit. Lin Feng could not make up his mind. After all, although the heaven and earth fruits were rare in the Chan River, they were plentiful on the land outside. Unless he urgently needed them, it would not be worth it to exchange for the heaven and earth fruits here. There's still half a journey left. Let's see everything first. Lin Feng thought to himself. He was not in a hurry to make a decision. After all, he still had time and effort. Lin Feng didn't want to miss a single one of the ice sculptures. Soon, he was nearing the end. Or rather, it was the starting point where the transparent light door was. Even if it's a bit wasteful, at least it's better than the others. Lin Feng muttered to himself. He had already made up his mind. He could already see the light door in the distance. It was very similar to the one at the end. He was about to turn back and exchange for the light of the Chan River when suddenly, Lin Feng's eyes lit up. He stopped in his tracks. Not far away, there was a strange black pagoda-shaped object. It was different from the Realm Tower's crystal. It was bigger, thicker, and of a different color. He had never seen it before. What was this? Lin Feng was curious. He looked around. There were many black pagodas like this. They were scattered near the light door and were very close to the exchange location of the Realm Tower's crystal on the right. To be precise, they were symmetrical. It should be a commonly used treasure. Lin Feng thought to himself. The other ice sculptures were all alone. Only this black pagoda and the Realm Tower's crystal exchange were multiple. There were quite a few of them. One black and one white. They were symmetrical. It's not a black pearl exchange. Lin Feng knew that this black pagoda didn't have a gap. It needed energy crystals to exchange. No more, no less. It was exactly 3 energy crystals. As for black pearls, he didn't have a single one on him. Although there were many outside, they were actually scarce. Because the ratio of black pearls to white pearls was closer and closer, only white pearls would be left and not black pearls would be left. Lin Feng was hesitant. He looked at the black pagoda and couldn't decide. Now, the choice left for him was very clear. He could either exchange for the light of the Chan River or exchange for this unknown black pagoda. One was safer, and the other was more risky. This black pagoda is definitely useful. I just don't know how to use it. Lin Feng looked at the black pagoda with deep eyes. His intuition told him that it was better to take a gamble. After all, even if he exchanged for 3 energy crystals, the light of the Chan River couldn't make the Tyrant Dragon clone undergo a fundamental transformation. If it couldn't transform and get close to the main body, it wasn't necessary. This is it. Lin Feng made his decision. He embedded the 3 energy crystals into one of the ice sculptures. As the energy crystals emitted light, cracks appeared on the ice sculpture in an instant. With a cracking sound, it shattered, turning into crystal light and dissipating. The black pagoda fell into his hand. While Lin Feng's eyes lit up, clear information entered his mind, telling him the use of the black pagoda and how to use it. Lin Feng's lips curled up slightly. Then, he put the black pagoda into his bag. My luck is not bad. Lin Feng smiled and left the Chan World Pagoda, satisfied. He had made the right bet. There was still 1 year left. Basically, the elimination of the First King's Hall Heavenly Challenge was almost complete. The Chan River demons who should have passed had already passed. Those who hadn't passed, those who entered later, or those who were struggling. Those who were left were generally weaker. Even if they were lucky enough to enter the second challenge, they were destined to be eliminated. Lin Feng wasn't that far off. The Tyrant Dragon clone only had the strength of an intermediate Black Domain Master. It could easily pass the First King's Hall Heavenly Challenge because the Black and White Wonder Beasts only had the strength of an elementary Black Domain Master. The Stream Guardian was only a peak elementary Black Domain Master. His strength just happened to be above them. However, if he entered the second challenge, the difficulty would increase by a level. Cheat, boom, pump. The Tyrant Dragon clone's movements were extremely fast. Its scaly tail swung out, and its claws were like knives. One after another, the White Wonder Beasts were killed, and their white pearls were taken. This kind of slaughter had been going on for a year since he returned from the Chan World Pagoda. To Lin Feng, killing the White Wonder Beasts was very easy. It was just like practicing his saber. Now, there were less than 3 days left until the 5-year time limit. It's about time. Lin Feng cleanly killed the last 3 White Wonder Beasts and smiled. Just right. Hua, taking out the Black Pagoda, Lin Feng's eyes lit up. Chapter 1528. Bang! Lin Feng crushed the Black Tower. Instantly, rays of black light transformed into a black tunnel that seemed to lead to the distant horizon. Lin Feng stepped into it and disappeared from the Imperial Heavenly Pass. As if he had crossed a layer of heaven, his eyes lit up. He went from darkness to light. A crystal pagoda stood tall like a mountain, majestic and majestic. I'm back. Lin Feng smiled. He had returned to the Chan World Tower. The function of the Black Tower was to teleport into the Chan World Tower. He didn't need to spend 1 million black pearls. He only needed to use 110,000 white pearls to open the 11th Black Cloud Stream. He only needed 30,000 white pearls to exchange for 3 World Tower crystals. He had taken a gamble, and it paid off. Although there was only 1 year left, he was already in the depths of the King's Heavenly Pass. It was much easier to obtain white pearls than before. In the first year of entering the King's Heavenly Pass, he only obtained 20,000 white pearls, but in the last year, he had obtained close to 90,000 white pearls. The difference was huge. Including the white pearls that he hadn't used before, he had more than 90,000 white pearls. It was enough to exchange for 9 World Tower crystals. Deducting the 3 crystals he had used before, he had earned 6 World Tower crystals this year. It was very worth it. 6 crystals wasn't much, but it was enough to exchange for 1 World Tower crystal, the light of the Chan River. It allowed the Tyrant Dragon clone's comprehension of another Tao of the Law of Earth to reach greater mastery. 2 Tao of the Law of Earth had reached greater mastery. Not only had his Tao of the Law of Earth improved, but his combat strength had improved as well. The increase in his main body strength was evident. He entered the Chan World Tower again. Lin Feng was already very familiar with it. He explored the first level of the Chan World Tower and confirmed that there were no changes. There was still a barrier at the end that required 10 World Tower crystals to enter. Pa Lin Feng completed the exchange after using the 5 World Tower crystal. He took the light of the Chan River that was full of energy. It was the same as the Chan River Source Realm's light of the Chan River. The energy was pure and clear. Lin Feng wasn't in a hurry to merge with it. Besides, he didn't have enough time. He kept in his bag 3 World Tower crystals. Lin Feng exchanged for a total of 8 World Tower crystals. He still had 10,000 white pearls left because he needed to open the Black Cloud Stream and pass the first level. This time, Lin Feng did not hesitate. Before entering, he had already made plans to exchange for another teleportation Black Tower. For now, the only thing that could be exchanged for Boundary Tower crystals is the white bead. Lin Feng wasn't in a hurry. The Chan World Tower was quite mysterious. There had to be a reason for it to appear as a hidden reward in the first trial. Perhaps it would be useful in the second and third checkpoints as well. Even if my guess is wrong, I still have a way to get the white pearl. Lin Feng knew very well that more than 1,000,000 Chan River demons had entered the king's heavenly pass. Even if only 1% of them passed, it would still be more than 10,000. How many of the 10,000 demons from Chan River could enter the 11th dark cloud stream? Some of those who did not enter must have white pearls. Hua, Lin Feng's eyes flashed. He had already planned everything out. Xin Ran smiled and left the Pagoda. The towering twin mountains were filled with a black fog that could not see the light of day. This was a huge barrier behind the royal palace's heavenly pass. After passing through the royal palace's heavenly pass and crossing the twin mountains, one would reach the royal palace of North Chan River. However, it wasn't easy. The twin mountains were behind the royal palace's heavenly pass and resonated with it. At this time, a dense crowd of Chan River demons had gathered outside the royal palace's heavenly pass. There were tens of thousands of them. However, compared to before, the atmosphere had changed. Very few of them were in groups. Most of them were alone and didn't care about each other. The air was filled with the smell of gunpowder. Their fighting spirit was obvious. Those who could pass the first trial were mostly intermediate Black Domain Masters and a small number of beginner Black Domain Masters. It could be said that more than 95% of the 1,000,000 demons were defeated in the first trial. There were only slightly more than 40,000 Chan River demon race here. Even so, it was already very shocking. We're finally going to enter the second trial. I've waited for so many years. It's so boring. What's the point of waiting for those trash who still haven't come out of the heavenly pass? That's right. I came out in less than a year. What's a year? We passed in less than half a year. Haha. As the 5-year time limit approached, the demons of Chan River relaxed a lot. Hearing these stupid words, many of the demons of Chan River couldn't help but smile in disdain. The ignorant were truly fearless. Aurora had 2 crystal earrings on her ears, and her black hair was combed back. She asked Violet Electric, "You also entered the Chan World Tower?" A cold smile flashed across her beautiful face. Violet Electric's starry eyes flashed. "Is it very strange?" Aurora laughed heartily. "With Violet Electric's intelligence, it's not hard for you to discover the secret." Violet Electric coldly said, 9 out of 10 advanced Black Domain Masters who come out in the last year enter the Chan World Tower." Aurora shrugged. "Only a few dozen." Violet Electric's starry eyes looked into the distance. She said indifferently, "That's right. Discovering the Chan World Tower doesn't mean anything. A true expert doesn't need to be smart. They just need to be strong enough." Following Violet Electric's gaze, there was a towering giant that looked like a pillar supporting the heavens. His body emitted a terrifying and powerful aura that made it impossible for others to approach. He stood there as if he was the sky, as if he was everything, as if he was a dome that covered everything. One of the 3 strongest experts, King Yinwang. His strength was publicly acknowledged as the strongest, stronger than Aurora and Violet Electric. Perhaps he wasn't smart and had left the king's heavenly pass in just 3 months. It was impossible for him to enter the Chan World Tower. However, he was strong enough. That was enough. That pair of cold, emotionless, and murderous eyes were like a monarch declaring his sovereignty. Not a single demon from Chan River dared to get close to Yamajin. This included the 10 strongest experts of North Chan River and the eldest princess group. "Let's wait and see. He might not be the one laughing in the end." Aurora sneered. She said arrogantly, "To become the king of North Chan River, strength, intelligence, and strategy are all indispensable. I don't believe that old man Tang Ji will give the throne to a brute who only knows how to fight. I, Aurora, am definitely more suitable than him." Violet Electric didn't say anything. She just smiled coldly. Who here wasn't eyeing the position of the king of North Chan River? Aurora was right. King Yinwang might not be the one laughing in the end. It could be Aurora, eldest Princess Tang Wanfeng, or she, Violet Electric. Hua, a faint light flashed in the king's heavenly pass. It didn't attract anyone's attention. A majestic figure walked out. The surrounding people looked at him with disdain. No one would care about an undying chaos whole Chan River Demon. I passed. Lin Feng looked around and smiled. He had successfully passed the first test in 5 years. Chapter 1529. Quite a few have passed. Lin Feng swept his gaze across the area. There were at least several tens of thousands of Chan River, Yao, clan members gathered here. All the elites of the North Chan River were gathered here. None of them were weak. Even the weakest among them was an outstanding beginner Black Domain Master. Intermediate Black Domain Masters were the most common, and there were even more advanced Black Domain Masters. Many of their auras were difficult to detect, and their strength far exceeded his. This was a gathering of true powerhouses. If we can pass the second checkpoint, the remaining powerhouses will be the strongest among the strongest. Lin Feng finally understood why the winged men were unwilling to attack the demons of Chan River. Chan River was a unique existence in the Tung Chi continent. In Chan River, the winged men were restricted by the laws of space, and their strength was greatly reduced. On the other hand, the demons of Chan River enjoyed favorable conditions. How could they not be strong? There were more than 1 million Black Domain Masters, and tens of thousands of them were elites among the Black Domain Masters. The demons of Chan River were even stronger than the humans. In terms of numbers, the humans can't compare to the demons of Chan River. Lin Feng knew very well that it was no wonder the humans were forced to hide by the winged men, while the demons of Chan River were living comfortably. Countless gazes fell on him, mixed with disdain, and indifference. Lin Feng knew that it was because of his immortal chaos whole strength. In Chan River, where the strong were respected and the weak were prey to the strong, he was looked down upon. Moreover, he had only come out of the first checkpoint when the time limit was almost up, which made most of the demons of Chan River look down on him. Lin Feng didn't care. The demons of Chan River weren't smart. Unless they knew of the existence of the Chan World Tower, very few of them could see through the secrets of the first checkpoint. Brother Tang Feng. Not far away, Yuan Shiai's voice was heard. Lin Feng smiled at him and walked over. The two immortal chaos holes together were even more eye-catching. However, the gazes of the people around them changed quite a bit. They were filled with fear and vigilance. Lin Feng knew that it was because of Yuan Shiai's identity. Although he didn't know his background, there were only a few people besides him and Yuan Shiai's who could pass the second checkpoint as immortal chaos holes. He could count them with 2 hands. If I'm not wrong, Brother Tang Feng should have entered the World Tower, right? As soon as Yanzei spoke, Lin Feng was startled. Without hiding anything, Lin Feng nodded. Yanzei was a very smart person. The two of them had passed the first round together, but he had only appeared now. The other demons of Chan River did not know, but with Yanzei's ability, he had naturally guessed it. Furthermore, with his status, it was not difficult for him to obtain information from the Chan River Yao clan that had entered the Chan Boundary Pagoda. Impressive. Yanzei gave him a thumbs up. His eyes flashed as he praised. I saw that Brother Tang Feng hadn't come out yet. After pondering for a while, I realized something was wrong. Sighing in amazement, Mingzei looked at Lin Feng. I didn't think that Brother Tang Feng had already seen through the mysteries of heaven. I'm impressed. His words were from the bottom of his heart. Yanzei did not have any other meaning. To him, the treasures in Chan World Tower were nothing. It made no difference whether he entered or not. Brother Yanzei is too kind. I was just trying. I entered the Chan World Tower by accident, Lin Feng said humbly. Yuan Shiai's laughed heartily. That is Brother Tang Feng's ability. Don't worry, Yuan Shiai's, am not a petty person. There is only admiration and no jealousy. Moreover, the treasures there are not attractive to me. There was some arrogance in his words. Yanzei did have the right to be proud. Lin Feng said, if I'm not wrong, the next round, and the one after that, should have hidden secrets. Yanzei glanced at Lin Feng and said, passing 4 rounds and becoming the king of Chan River is not an easy task. The king of Chan River, Tang Ji, must have made arrangements. Not only did he choose the strongest and most suitable king of Chan River, he also gave hope to the other Chan River Yao clan members with potential. Otherwise, wouldn't it be simpler and more direct to fight one-on-one? Lin Feng nodded. In order to sit on the throne of the king of the northern Chan River, One could not simply rely on strength alone. There's something I don't know if Brother Yinzei can help me with? Lin Feng asked. Brother Tang Feng, please speak, Yinzei said. Lin Feng immediately told Yin Zai's plan. He had exchanged for the teleportation Black Tower, just for this moment. If Yin Zai was willing to help, with his ability, collecting the white beads would be as easy as blowing off dust. Let's split it into 5. When the time comes, we'll split the boundary tower crystals exchange for half, Lin Feng said generously. After all, it would be difficult for him to succeed alone. Even if Yin Zai came, he estimated that he could exchange for 100 to 200,000 white beads at most. Yin Zai laughed heartily. Brother Tang Feng is too polite. I, Yin Zai, am not someone who haggles over every little thing. Helping is as easy as lifting a finger. I have nothing else to do, so how can I take advantage of you? I'll collect the white beads for you, but you'll have to pay for them yourself, Yin Zai said. There are less than 3 days left. I can't guarantee that I'll get as many as I can. Then I'll have to trouble Brother Yin Zai. Lin Feng thanked him. With Yin Zai's help, things became much easier. Lin Feng took out a few Chaos Cavern treasures and handed them to Yin Zai. Although time was tight, Yin Zai was very efficient. Moreover, the Chan River demons had no use for the white beads. The white beads were different from the light of Chan River. The energy contained in the white beads was of little value to the demons of Chan River. In less than 3 days, they had collected 350,000 white beads. Unfortunately, there's not enough time, Yin Zai said. Otherwise, it would have been no problem exceeding 500,000. It's already far exceeded my expectations, Lin Feng said with a smile. I'll have to trouble you this time, Brother Yin Zai. It's a piece of cake, Yin Zai laughed heartily. 350,000 white beads were in his bag. Lin Feng was very satisfied. This was twice as much as he had expected. How much time do we have? Lin Feng asked. Less than an hour, Yin Zai replied. Lin Feng let out a low grunt as he hesitated in his heart. Should he use the teleportation Black Tower now, at the second checkpoint, or after the second checkpoint? All of a sudden, 350,000 white pearls had disrupted his original plan. However, it was a better way to disrupt it. I'll decide after entering the second checkpoint. Lin Feng hesitated for a moment. After weighing the pros and cons, he decided to bide his time. Even if he entered the Chan World Tower to exchange for the white beads, he couldn't use them immediately. Since that was the case, he might as well wait until the second checkpoint and see what he needed before making a decision. Just as he made up his mind, suddenly, whoosh, a beam of light flashed and closed the Imperial Highness Heaven Pass's passageway. Lin Feng looked at Yin Zai with a wry smile. The latter shrugged as though he was saying, It's indeed less than an hour. Amidst the rumbling, the distant twin mountains slowly trembled. The black fog above them drifted as though a devil had awakened. You have 10 years to pass through Twin Mountains. Tang Ji's aged voice slowly resounded. Chapter 1530. There were no superfluous words or hints, but it was enough. 10 years to pass through Gemini Mountain. The second trial's requirements were simple and clear, almost identical to the first trial. However, the time limit was twice as long. Although it seemed more generous, it was actually because the second trial was more difficult. Tang Ji's voice was still echoing as many Chan River Yao impatiently charged into Gemini Mountain. The towering Gemini Mountain was shrouded in black mist, like the entrance to hell. The moment the Chan River Yao entered, they disappeared, as if they had been devoured by hell. It was a shocking sight. Lin Feng and Yuan Shiai's exchanged glances. They both had the same thought. Observe first before acting. The first trial was still vivid in their minds. Those who entered first might not necessarily have the advantage. Some of them were even killed by experts and obtained the black-white pearls. With the strength of those experts, it would be easy for them to obtain the black-white pearls. However, to them, there was no reason to explain. If they wanted to kill, they would kill. So what? In Chan River, strength was king. Just like in the forest, the weak were prey to the strong. Only the fittest survived. After entering Gemini Mountain, there might be a hint, right? Lin Feng said. It was the same when he entered the Imperial Palace. If it wasn't for the words "at least 10 black cloud stream paths," he wouldn't have been able to find an opening and enter the Chan World Tower. I don't know. Gemini Mountain is very mysterious. Yuan Shiai's looked ahead, his eyes flashing. Oh! Lin Feng looked curiously at Yuan Shiai's. Yuan Shiai smiled. I also heard that Gemini Mountain used to be a graveyard. Graveyard? Lin Feng was stunned. I don't know whether it's true or not, but it's true that there are 4 types of ghosts on Gemini Mountain. Yuan Shiai's eyes flashed. However, ghosts might not have strong offensive power, but they're very good at hiding. After entering Gemini Mountain, we have to be extra careful, especially with the cover of the black mist. The ghost's movements are even more mysterious. Lin Feng nodded. The 4 types of ghosts should be at the level of an intermediate black domain master. Yuan Zhe lightly nodded. That's about right. However, apart from the monsters and mist on Gemini Mountain, there are no natural barriers to defend against. As long as one's strength reaches the intermediate level of Black Domain Master, and there's a 10-year time limit, the chances of passing are still very high. Lin Feng understood. It was like a maze. However, it shouldn't be a problem for the master of the Black region. I'm afraid it's not that simple, Lin Feng said. I think so too. The two of them looked at each other and nodded. He waited patiently. The Blackfield Master had entered, but he did not come out. The spectating Black Region Masters entered one after another. Lin Feng and Yuan Shiai's waited for a few days. Seeing that there was no movement, they also followed the crowd and entered Gemini Mountain. The rules of the second trial were different from the first. Moreover, there weren't many Black Region Masters entering this trial, so there was no need to waste time. Whoosh! Whoosh! One by one, the monster race experts entered and left in different directions. Lin Feng and Zhe observed their surroundings. They were shrouded in a black haze. The twin mountains in the Chan River region were like volcanoes at the bottom of the sea, mysterious and frightening. Only when one truly entered would they be able to sense it. It was like 2 mountains were pressing down on their heads. They could only look up but not reach. Deep in Gemini Mountain, their surroundings were dark. Lin Feng and Zhe did not panic. From the beginning, they had estimated that the environment here would be harsh. Although the ghosts and monsters were a big threat, the real threat came from Gemini Mountain itself. It wasn't easy to get out of the labyrinth's secret realm. It was like searching for an exit. What should we do? And Zhe looked at Lin Feng. From the first trial, he already knew that the intelligence and strategy of this giant beast in front of him was completely different from his appearance. He seemed reckless, but he was actually very cautious and meticulous. Ignore the ghosts and monsters. Let's find the way, Lin Feng said. Okay. And Zhe had no objections. Lin Feng pointed to the darkness ahead and said, let's walk slowly in one direction and get used to the environment. Since we entered later, we have an advantage. The other demons of Chan River have explored more than us, so they came earlier than us. If Gemini Mountain is a maze, we should try our best to find an area where there are no Chan River monsters. In a maze, the more people there were, the less likely there was an exit. It was often a circle that kept going around. And Zhe smiled. An area without Chan River monsters might be an exit, but it might also be the most dangerous place. This was because all the Chan River monsters that entered had been killed. We have to take risks, don't we? Lin Feng smiled. And Zhe smiled. And Zhe smiled. Newborn calves were not afraid of tigers. Although they were chaos holes and were not as strong as the Black Region Master, their fighting spirit was not inferior. Since they had entered Gemini Mountain, they would do their best. At the exit of Gemini Mountain, shwa, whoosh, 2 figures arrived, almost one after the other. Their movement techniques were ghostly and their speed far exceeded that of ordinary Black Region Masters. One was purple and the other was white. I'm still 1 step behind you. Aurora smiled at the purple figure in front of her. She was not displeased at all. This checkpoint tested one's intelligence and strategy. He was already satisfied that he was only 1 step behind Violet Electric. Violet Electric was known as the smartest monster in North Chan River. Purple Lightning's beautiful eyes glanced behind her as she coldly smiled. The light in her hand rose. Aurora could not help but be stunned. Her eyes widened. That is, you're not just one step late. Violet electric flashed like a bolt of lightning and disappeared in an instant. She did not care about the exit that was close at all. Clearly, it was nothing to her. Aurora gritted her teeth and walked closer. So that's how it is. Aurora frowned, turned into an aurora, and disappeared. This way? And Zay was stunned. Lin Feng was walking towards a huge black stone mountain. It was majestic, and it formed a line with Gemini Mountain. They had been circling around this black stone mountain for many days. Let's give it a try. Lin Feng's eyes flashed. His figure dashed forward and touched the hard rocks of the Black Rock Mountain. Suddenly, the energy of the earth shook and the entire Black Rock Mountain shattered with a rumble. Yuan Shou Zhe was dumbfounded. No way. The Black Stone Mountain's metallic material was so hard that even a high-level Black Region Master would find it hard to shatter it. Tang Feng was just an immortal chaos hole. How could he? I understand. And Zay suddenly realized. This is fake. Lin Feng sped forward and quickly passed through a layer of barrier and the black fog. He and Zay had been circling around this place for a long time, including many Chan River Demon Race members. They had long felt that there was something wrong with this Black Stone Mountain. As expected, Brother Lin Feng is indeed powerful. And Zay looked at Lin Feng with eyes full of admiration. Lin Feng suddenly shook his head and stopped. He looked around. Cleverness overreaches itself. We might have gone to the wrong place. Chapter 1531. Yuan Shi's quickly understood as well. This was because everything around them was completely different. They had not found the correct path in the maze. Instead, they had walked into a small secret realm within a maze. No matter how much the maze twisted, it was still on one level. But now it was on two different levels. Moreover, if this really is the correct path, then it's likely that only a handful of people can pass the second checkpoint. Lin Feng looked around cautiously. Although the difficulty of the second checkpoint would increase, it would not increase by that much. The tens of thousands of Chan River Yao would not suddenly drop to 3 or even 2 digits. He knew a thing or two about the king of North Chan River's mentality. He wanted to carefully select a successor that was truly trustworthy. This kind of selection would not rely too much on luck. Instead, it would be a careful selection. As long as one had strength and potential, there would be a chance. I don't know if it's a blessing or a curse. Yuan Shi smiled bitterly. I don't know either. Lin Feng was very calm. Since they were already here, they might as well take things as they came. He believed that the uniqueness of each checkpoint would not be set up casually. There had to be a reason for it. As he spoke, Lin Feng's heart suddenly trembled, and his footsteps came to a sudden halt. Careful! As Lin Feng's voice fell, a strange hand suddenly reached out from beneath his feet. It was a bone-chilling skeleton, and a terrifying aura of death enveloped him, as though it wanted to drag him down to the depths of hell. On the other side, Yuan Shi's was also attacked. The ground beneath his feet suddenly caved in, and a suction force surged out like a swamp. Fortunately, he had been on guard the entire time. With Lin Feng's warning, he was already prepared. Rumble, the tyrant dragon clone, stomped on the ground, and the large success of the law of earthquake shook the ground. The sound of bones cracking could be heard from beneath the ground. Lin Feng roared, and his tail whipped the ground with boundless strength. Come out! Bang! The vigorous strength exploded, and a pitch-black shadow appeared. Its sharp claws tore through space, carrying with them a poisonous corpse aura. The disgusting attack came straight for his face. Lin Feng's sharp claws slashed out, tearing the shadow to pieces. His actions were swift and decisive. A mournful roar rang out as the pitch-black, malevolent figure turned into a black haze and dissipated, leaving behind a pitch-black drop of blood that fell to the ground. Lin Feng's eyes flashed as he quickly caught it. Black blood. Lin Feng felt the cold corpse qi in his hand. The black blood emitted a vicious, nauseating aura. Without looking at it for too long, he directly put it into his bag. Brother Chu said that the Twin Mountains used to be his cemetery. Perhaps it is true. Lin Feng thought to himself. His gaze fell on a spot not too far away, where Dark Marsh was fighting another monster hidden underground. For a moment, it was difficult to distinguish between the two. If I'm not wrong, this should be one of the demons and monsters, Lin Feng said. The strength of an intermediate black domain master, proficient in hidden attacks, and formless ghostly. Everything was in line with the description. Although he didn't know what the black blood was for, it was the same as the first checkpoint. Just because he didn't know didn't mean that it was useless. Lin Feng looked around while paying attention to Dark Marsh's battle. If Dark Marsh wasn't strong enough and was in danger, Lin Feng would naturally save him. However, if they were evenly matched and could fight alone, Lin Feng wouldn't do anything unnecessary. Not many experts liked others to help them. This was especially true for Dark Marsh, who had a noble status and an arrogant ego. An immortal chaos hole with the strength of an intermediate black domain master was very rare in the North Chan River. The battle didn't last long. Although the demons and monsters weren't weak, they were proficient in sneak attacks. In a face-to-face battle, they only had the strength of an intermediate black domain master. Although they were slightly stronger than the Stream Path Guardian in the first checkpoint, it was generally difficult for them to win against an intermediate black domain master. Dark Marsh quickly won the battle. Similarly, he obtained a drop of black blood. Lin Feng lightly exclaimed as he took Dark Marsh's drop of black blood and carefully compared it with his own. It's different. Not only did Lin Feng discover this, but so did Dark Marsh. Although the size and shape are the same, including the energy and corpse energy of the black blood, the pattern in the black blood was different. It was like 2 drops of blood from 2 people. Although they looked the same, there would always be differences. Ordinary martial artists would be able to tell, let alone Lin Feng and Dark Marsh. Although I haven't seen what the demons and monsters look like, it's probably the case, Dark Marsh said. Lin Feng nodded. Looking at the pitch-black darkness around him and the boundless black soil, he said, I'm afraid there are more than 2 demons and monsters here. There's no harm in having more. I wasn't confident before, but after encountering them, it's just the same, Dark Marsh said casually. Lin Feng smiled. Indeed, some of them looked scary, but in reality, it was just a psychological trick. In reality, they weren't necessarily dangerous. Just as Lin Feng expected, there were quite a lot of demons and monsters in this place. There were quite a number of them in every region. However, they didn't pose much of a threat to the 2 of them. The strongest demons and monsters were only a slightly stronger intermediate black domain master. Both Lin Feng and Dark Marsh could match them. Without sneak attacks and concealment, the demons and monsters were nothing more than that. There were a total of 4 types of black blood: demon, 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 and demon. Although they didn't know what they were used for, the more the better. 10 years was a long time. No one knew when they would need it. The minor confusion realm wasn't big. Soon, Lin Feng and Dark Marsh cleared out. Not a single demon or monster appeared. Let's go, Brother Dark, Lin Feng said. All right, Dark Marsh smiled. The 2 of them had already discovered the exit, but they weren't in a hurry to leave. There was no point in staying any longer. After clearing out the demons and monsters and harvesting a large amount of black blood, they quickly returned to Gemini Mountains. Where do we go? Dark Marsh asked. From time to time, they would see the Chan River Yao tribe appearing and disorienting. Let's go back, Lin Feng said. This is a dead end. We should have taken a wrong path. Dark Marsh didn't disagree. Only after walking the wrong path would one know the right path. Lin Feng and Dark Marsh found the right path without any mishaps. There wasn't any danger along the way. The Chan River Yao tribe they encountered were all fighting for themselves as they searched for the end of Gemini Mountains. As for the demons and monsters, they didn't see a single one. We're here. Lin Feng's eyes shone brightly. Ha! Dark Marsh laughed heartily. There was an oval-shaped sign in the distance. It was very similar to the end of the first checkpoint. It was a very obvious landmark. As long as they activated it, they would pass the second checkpoint. However, was it that easy? There are 8 Chan River Yao tribe members. Lin Feng saw them at a glance. They seem very confused, Dark Marsh said. Lin Feng nodded. He and Ming Zhe quickly landed on the ground, one on the left and one on the right. The 8 Chan River Demon tribe members were standing at the end of the tunnel, but for some reason, they did not leave. Instead, they stood there in a daze, discussing something. Chapter 1532. 2 Immortal Chaos Holes. One of the advanced Black Domain Masters raised his eyebrows in surprise and disdain. Of the 8 Chan River Devil race members gathered at the end of the Twin Mountains, 7 of them were advanced Black Domain Masters. Normally, those who could reach this place not only had intelligence, but also strength. If they lacked strength, they would be ambushed by the monsters. These monsters were experts in bullying the weak and fearing the strong. Seeing Lin Feng and Yuan Zhe, the 8 Chan River Devil race members only glanced at them and didn't pay them any attention. One of them casually asked, "Two brats, how did you get here? Didn't you encounter any danger?" "Same as you," Yuan Zhe replied with a smile. Another Chan River Devil race member laughed. "This journey was too easy. After going around and killing a few monsters, we arrived here." Yuan Zhe opened his mouth slightly and hesitated. Lin Feng's heart trembled. He felt that the atmosphere wasn't right and hurriedly interrupted, "Same for us. However, it wasn't as easy as you guys. We were chased by a few ferocious-looking monsters and barely managed to escape." "Chased?" The only intermediate Black Domain Master asked. "Why didn't you kill them?" Lin Feng bitterly smiled. "We had to be able to kill them first. We could deal with 1 or 2, but if there were 8 or 10 of them, we wouldn't be waiting for death." Chua. The eyes of the Chan River Devil race members lit up. One of the advanced Black Domain Masters asked, "Where are you chased? Where are those monsters now?" Lin Feng shook his head. "They were killed long ago. An advanced Black Domain Master saved us." The Chan River Devil race members all revealed looks of disappointment. "The guy's really lucky. What should we do? Should we continue waiting? Let's go out and look for them. Who knows, we might run into them." As the 8 Chan River Devil race members discussed, Lin Feng glanced at Yuan Zhe. The latter understood tacitly and understood the gist of it. "Do those monsters have anything on them? Why are you guys in such a hurry?" Lin Feng asked curiously. The 7 advanced Black Domain Masters ignored him as if they didn't hear him. Only the intermediate Black Domain Master turned around and pointed at the yellow symbol at the end. "Look for yourself." Oh, in fact, Lin Feng had already seen it, but he still pretended to be surprised. In the oval yellow symbol, there were 4 blood droplet-shaped holes. Upon closer inspection, other than the holes, there were 4 different patterns. Black blood. The 4 types of black blood that he had obtained in the small confusion realm corresponded to these 4 cavities. Qi, Mei, Wang, and Liang. Each of the 4 types of ghosts had a type of black blood. On the other side, Yuan Zhe sighed regretfully. Lin Feng also shook his head. This was the second trial. Their goal was to fight for the position of the king of the Beichan River. If it was known that they had 4 types of black blood in their bodies, they would have died without a burial ground. He didn't need to look to know that the 8 Chang River Demon race would not let them go. Lin Feng was already used to this kind of thing. Although Yuan Shi's had never experienced it before, he was still quite smart and understood. The 8 Chan River Demons did not suspect anything. From their point of view, it was already a miracle that a chaos hole could reach this place. Killing demons and monsters? What a joke. After exchanging some pleasantries, Lin Feng and Yuan Zhe did not immediately leave. The 8 Chan River Demons were not stupid. If they revealed any clues, it would arouse their suspicion. "Why don't we wait here?" Yuan Zhe said. "If any of the Chan River Demons pass the trial and have more on them, why don't we just ask them to buy it?" "That's the only way," Lin Feng said. "Stop dreaming. Do you think it's so easy to get these things?" One of the advanced Black Domain Masters said. "The demons and monsters aren't strong, but they're good at hiding. If they don't want to come out, it's too difficult to find them." The demons and monsters had the strength of an intermediate Black Domain Master. Moreover, this was a maze. It was already difficult to find a way out of a maze, let alone find ghosts and monsters. There's still time. Let's not waste any more time here. Let's go. That's right. Let's split up and meet up later. I don't believe that we can't find those ghosts and monsters in 10 years. Let's go. As soon as they said they would leave, The 8 Chan River Monster Clan members left immediately, leaving behind Lin Feng and Yuan Zhe. They looked at each other and smiled knowingly. In the opposite direction of the 8 Chan River demons, Lin Feng and Yuan Zhe found a place to hide and stopped. "Thank you, Brother Tang." Yuan Zhe sighed. "It's nothing." Lin Feng smiled. Yuan Zhe's reaction was already very fast. Otherwise, it would have been hard for him to help him. These advanced Black Domain Masters were too smart and experienced. Under normal circumstances, they wouldn't attack me. However, this isn't Chan River. Once it involves real benefits, no one can guarantee their safety. Yuan Zhe's eyes flashed. He wasn't afraid. Instead, he was excited. He had been pampered since young. This was the first time he felt death. It was very strange. "This trial is very interesting," Lin Feng said. "The demons and monsters only attack the weak, but hide from strong. The strong couldn't pass, and the weak couldn't. After all, it's just the beginning," Yuan Zhe said. "As time passes, the entire maze will be dug 3 feet deep. It won't be easy for the demons and monsters to hide." Lin Feng nodded. If it was only 1 year, the elimination rate would probably be shocking. However, 10 years, it was enough for many to pass the 3rd trial. "How many sets do we have?" Yuan Zhe asked. "Not many. 5 sets, Lin Feng said. 1 drop of each of the 4 types of black blood made up a set. Hence, they had to count with the least amount of black blood. "There are 3 sets left," Yuan Zhe said. Lin Feng nodded. "We were lucky to enter the small maze realm and get everything. If I'm not wrong, there's definitely more than 1 such maze realm. We'll be discovered eventually," Yuan Zhe said. "What do we do next?" "For now, we can't do anything." Lin Feng shrugged. The 3 sets of black blood were sold for a high price. The problem was, how would they sell it? The other Chan River demons weren't fools. Wouldn't it be more convenient to rob them here? They were just 2 immortal chaos holes. "Then give me 1 set. I'll leave first." Yuan Zhe nodded. "All right." Lin Feng gave Yuan Zhe 4 drops of black blood. Yuan Zhe understood what he meant. He didn't need any fortuitous encounters. He had everything he needed, just like in the first trial. So what if the other Chan River demons found out he had entered Chan World Tower? At most, they would obtain some treasures. However, Yuan Zhe had plenty of such treasures. If he needed Yuan Zhe's help, Yuan Zhe wouldn't refuse. If not, he didn't want to waste time here. If he needed to pass, he would pass. Hua, the elliptical yellow sign opened. After watching Yuan Zhe enter, Lin Feng smiled. He was alone again. Chapter 1533. Lin Feng naturally didn't plan on leaving so early. The 10 years had just begun. The first checkpoint had secrets, so there was no reason for the second checkpoint to have no secrets. Would it be over just by walking out of the maze and killing the 4 monsters? He didn't believe it. Gemini Mountain maze, fog, corpse chi, graveyard, monsters. Lin Feng quickly organized his thoughts. There seemed to be a connection, but he couldn't find the key point. Maybe it's because I haven't explored enough in Gemini Mountain. Lin Feng was tempted. However, he didn't take action because he knew it was very dangerous. Gemini Mountain itself wasn't a big threat, but what about after that? As time passed, those experts who could not find the Chi Mei and Wang Liang would target the other Chan River Yao clan. Killing the weaker demons would give them a better chance of obtaining black blood. This was because there were 4 types of black blood. It was very difficult to gather all 4 types of black blood at once, unless they also found the mini lost realm. Even if the demons and monsters were discovered later, it was more likely that each of the Chan River demons had 1 to 3 types of black blood. There was bound to be 1 type that was hard to find. At that time, there would be a massacre. His main body strength might not be enough to protect himself, let alone the Tyrant Dragon avatar. With the strength of an immortal chaos hole, any Black Region Master would kill him without hesitation. He had to increase his strength first. Otherwise, it would be very difficult to explore Gemini Mountain. Lin Feng took out the Black Tower and transformed into a stream of light, entering Chan World Tower. When he returned to Chan World Tower, there were no changes. From Quan Zhe, Lin Feng learned a lot about the Chan World Tower. It was a mysterious existence in the Chan River, and only the king of the North Chan River knew its secrets. It could be said that this was the king of the North Chan River's greatest trump card. Being at the peak of North Chan River and having the secret of Chan World Tower, the king of North Chan River was worthy of being called the peak existence of North Chan River. The Chan World Tower I'm in now isn't the real Chan World Tower, but a part of it. Lin Feng was very clear that if it was the real Chan World Tower, many Chan River demons would have entered before him. He was currently in a part of Chan World Tower. It could be called Chan World Tower, but it could also be called not. It is very difficult to find a place to cultivate in Gemini Mountain. Lin Feng wanted to absorb the light of the Great Earth River, but there was no safe land in the second checkpoint. Even in the small Confusion realm, he would be attacked by demons and monsters. But here, it was possible. 350,000 white pearls can be exchanged for 35 world pagoda crystals. After taking away 3 and exchanging them for the Black Tower, I still have 32 world pagoda crystals. Lin Feng calculated in his mind. 32 world pagoda crystals were quite useful, because it could be exchanged for the light of the Chan River. My main body is the light of the Chan River. Tyrannosaurus Rex's clone, light of the Chan River of the Earth element. In terms of battle prowess, I'm stronger. But right now, this sovereign's identity is inconvenient. Lin Feng thought to himself. He didn't know this before, but now that he knew that the king of the North Chan River was related to the Chan Realm Pagoda, things were different. If he transformed into his human form in Chan Jie Tower, he would be exposed. Even if they were exposed at the checkpoint and the other Chan River demons did not discover them, who could guarantee that the king of North Chan River would not discover them? It was too risky. Here, you forgot my identity. Unless the Tyrannosaurus clone's life is threatened. Lin Feng said, 32 World Pagoda crystals could be exchanged for some light of the Chan River for his main body, but good steel should be used on a blade. Now, it was best to strengthen the Tyrannosaurus clone as much as possible. The Tyrannosaurus clone's lightning-type aptitude is not high, and its talent is inclined towards the earth. Then, I'll focus on improving its earth aptitude, Lin Feng thought to himself. In terms of earth bloodline, the Tyrannosaurus clone was not weaker than his main body's light and darkness bloodlines. When a demon's bloodline reached a certain level, it would be strengthened as the demon's strength increased. Absorb 5 types of light of the Chan River and cultivate the earth bloodline to greater mastery. Or just cultivate the law of earthquake and raise it to the peak. Lin Feng walked in the Chan Realm Pagoda as he pondered. The former required 5 light of the Chan River, which required 5 level 5 energy crystals. He already had 1 on him. For more would mean another 20 energy crystals, which was more than enough. The latter required an unknown amount of light of the Chan River. It might require 2 or 3 light of the Chan River, or 5, 6, or even more. This was an unknown number. Benefits and combat power, the latter is greater. Lin Feng knew very well that if he raised the law of earthquake to the peak, the Tyrannosaurus clone could directly advance to the chaotic immortal rank with its soul and physical conditions. Whether it was strength or combat power, it would undergo a major transformation. It might even exceed his main body's current combat power. But the risk is also greater. Lin Feng frowned. If he could not break through and used up all these energy crystals, it would be a waste. Although his strength would increase, it would only be by a small amount. If I raise all 6 laws of earth to greater mastery, the increase in combat power and strength will be more stable. Although it can't compare to my main body, it can still reach the level of a high-level Black Domain Master. Oh, Lin Feng was unsettled. As he pondered, he unknowingly reached the end of the first level of the Chan Realm Pagoda. The next level required 10 energy crystals, which was also very attractive to Lin Feng. The treasures on the next level would definitely be better, but he couldn't use them now. Entering requires 10 energy crystals, and the treasures inside are estimated to cost at least 10 energy crystals. If the price is similar to this level, then it will cost 10 to 50 energy crystals. Lin Feng's calculation was very clear. Even if he satisfied his curiosity, he wouldn't be able to exchange for any good treasures. Let's do it here. Lin Feng pondered for a long time and finally made up his mind. Going from an ordinary chaotic immortal to an advanced chaotic immortal was a path he had to take. Since that was the case, he would follow this path. After all, the light of the Chan River could be exchanged one by one. If I don't buy the Black Tower, I have 35 energy crystals which can be exchanged for 7 light of the Chan River. Including the one I have 8. Lin Feng thought to himself, if I absorb 3 light of the Chan River and the law of earthquake still sinks into the sea, then, with the remaining 5, I'll cultivate the other 5 laws of earth. A compromise. Originally, Lin Feng was more inclined to take risks. If he wanted to go further, he had to increase the power of the Tyrant Dragon clone. Ordinary chaotic immortals couldn't compete with true Black Domain Masters. Only those who had become chaotic immortals had the confidence to do so. Originally, the power of an advanced chaotic immortal was comparable to that of an ordinary Black Domain Master. Come, Lin Feng exchanged for 2 light of the Chan River. Including the one he had, 3 light of the Chan River landed in his hand. Sitting cross-legged, Lin Feng instantly entered a state of cultivation. Whether he was a dragon or a snake, he would gamble on this. Chapter 1534. Every light of the Chan River contained the most essential energy of the Chan River. Clack, clack. The Tyrant Dragon clone roared, and the sinister scales all over its body bulged. The energy of the tiny light of the Chan River was contained in a mustard seed. In an instant, the great path of earth became incomparably clear, and divine sense opened up. It contained the most extreme, great path of earth laws. The energy of laws entered his body, and the scales all over his body became thick and heavy. All the great path of earth laws were incomparably clear. No matter which one he cultivated, Lin Feng was confident that he could quickly reach the large success stage. Except for the earthquake law. The earthquake law, which had already reached the large success stage, was the key for the Tyrant Dragon clone to become an immortal chaotic whole. Now, it was a part of his main attack. The earthquake law was a superior law. If it reached the peak of the large success stage, it would become an immortal chaotic whole. Moreover, it was the second stage of becoming an immortal chaotic whole. Peak immortal chaotic whole. Lin Feng was very ambitious. If he wanted to succeed, he would have to reach the peak of the North Chan River. He didn't have the time. He was only at the second of the 4 checkpoints, and he was already in danger. If he entered the 3rd or 4th checkpoints, he would definitely have to face the advanced Black Domain Masters. Ordinary advanced Black Domain Masters were still manageable. However, if he faced the top advanced Black Domain Masters, even his main body wouldn't be their match. But if he could become an immortal chaotic whole, there would be hope. Becoming an immortal chaotic whole was equivalent to becoming an ordinary Black Domain Master. One had a deeper understanding of the laws, while the other had a deeper understanding of the Space Tao. They were 2 completely different paths. But it wasn't easy. In the Chan River and the entire Tung Chi continent, becoming an immortal chaotic whole was extremely rare. Basically, after becoming an ordinary immortal chaotic whole, one would directly become an ordinary Black Domain Master. Part of the reason was that the Space Tao of the Tung Chi continent was clear, but it also meant that the difficulty of the 2 was different. The first one, the second one, the third one. Lin Feng continued to cultivate and comprehend. Without sleep or rest, regardless of day or night, Lin Feng cultivated selflessly. When he entered the state of cultivation, he naturally threw everything aside. As for the checkpoints and whatnot, they had long been tossed out of his mind. For the current Lin Feng, there was only one thing. His comprehension of the law of earthquake had increased. Plans could not keep up with the changes. As the light of the 3 great Earth Chan rivers was exhausted, his earthquake laws remained at the large success realm, without any possibility of a breakthrough. Lin Feng clenched his teeth, his heart in a dilemma. According to his original plan, he had to endure the pain of cutting off the supply in exchange for the remaining 5 energy crystals to cultivate the other 5 Daos of the Law of Earth and steadily increase his strength. But he couldn't accept it. He was unwilling to admit defeat, unwilling to admit defeat like this. Again, the obsession in his heart made Lin Feng unwilling to give up. He absorbed the 4th Chan River light and tried to comprehend the earthquake law once more. Even if he gained nothing in the end, he was willing to do so. This was a challenge. It was a challenge to oneself, a challenge that refused to admit defeat. The 5th, the 6th, the 7th, the 8th one. Lin Feng used up the last energy crystal. He had already staked everything on this one throw. He no longer had any energy crystals on him and could not exchange them for the Black Tower. This meant that he would not be able to return after leaving this time. But it didn't matter. In any case, he wouldn't be able to return to the Royal Heavenly Pass anytime soon. The white pearls and the other Chan River demons were almost all gone. He would fight until the end. Until the end, Lin Feng didn't want to give up. At the 5th Chan River light, he had already faintly sensed the peak level of the earthquake law. At the 6th and 7th orbs, his comprehension became clearer and clearer. And now, at the 8th orb, it was like a ship sailing on the sea, and he could already see the lighthouse in the distance. The clouds in front of him gradually parted. The other side seemed to be close, yet also far away. Lin Feng knew that this was the most crucial moment. Usually, this moment was the most fatal. If he succeeded, he would succeed. If he failed, he didn't know when he would have to wait for the next time. Just as he was thinking, a violent wave suddenly came from below him. Layer after layer of tremors spread out. It was like the tremors of space, but it wasn't. This was a real tremor, as heavy as a boulder. Every strike had the force of 1,000 caddies. Boom, boom, boom. Falling into the depths of his heart, Lin Feng opened his eyes wide, and they shone brightly. His whole body trembled uncontrollably. A formless but powerful energy instantly poured into his body. A powerful heavenly might shone from afar. It was like a seed had sprouted in the depths of his heart, rapidly growing and becoming a towering tree. This was the power of the laws. Earthquake law, peak level. Clang, clang, clang. The comprehension of the laws brought with it a glimpse of the heavenly Tao and the sublimation of one's life level. It was like taking a step into the clouds, touching the unknown heavenly Tao, and walking to a higher level of the universe. Parting the clouds and seeing the moon, Lin Feng felt like he was in the heavens, completely comprehending the existence of the peak level. The true earthquake law, whoosh. Turbulent energy rose from the depths of his heart, originating from the deepest mysteries of the universe. It was a supreme existence. It turned into energy in his whole body, constantly surging into it and changing it. Cells, bones, blood. Even the color and shape of the scales on his body were changing. At this time, the Tyrannosaurus clone was undergoing the most intense transformation, the most essential upgrade. Even that ugly appearance of his seemed to be constantly evolving. Indeed, it was evolving. The bloodline of a monster slowly changed and improved with the improvement of one's life level and strength. Lin Feng's Tyrannosaurus clone's body was already strong enough. The soul it lacked the most was given by Lin Feng's own soul, which made it exceptionally powerful. From an ordinary immortal chaotic whole to an advanced immortal chaotic whole, it only lacked the comprehension of the laws and the comprehension of the life level. Now, everything was in place. Roar! The Tyrannosaurus clone roared toward the sky. Its ferocious appearance was painful and excited, and a faint light floated outside its body. Along with the intense pain, his body was undergoing the deepest level of metamorphosis. Immortal. The body became immortal. After breaking the Earth's soul, the body turned into an immortal body. As long as the core in the body was not broken, there would be endless Earth energy. Even if the body was destroyed, it could be rebuilt. Of course, this kind of immortality was only relative. To a true powerhouse, there was only a difference in strength. If they could break your body once, they could break it 10 or 100 times. Even an immortal body would be useless. But to Lin Feng, This kind of improvement was enough to satisfy him. He was about to advance to a peak immortal chaotic whole. In terms of strength, he was comparable to an intermediate black domain master. As for his combat power, it was far higher. Soon, I'll be comparable to my main body. Lin Feng gritted his teeth and endured the transformation of his body, enjoying the pleasure brought by the evolution of the life level. Clear earth elements floated around him, and he could touch them with his hand. Earthquake law, top-notch. Strength, advanced to a chaotic whole. Chapter 1535. Peng. A brand new Tyrannosaurus Rex awakened in the Chan World Tower. After the transformation, the Tyrannosaurus Rex became smaller and didn't look as ferocious as before. However, its power was completely contained within its muscles and armor. It was quite terrifying, filled with explosive power and tough defense. The Tyrannosaurus Rex clone waved its claws. The sharp claw attack was so fast that even an afterimage couldn't be seen. Its eyes flashed. My strength and speed have increased greatly. Lin Feng was very satisfied. The Tyrannosaurus Rex clone's strongest point was its body. From an ordinary immortal chaotic whole to an advanced immortal chaotic whole, just the increase in its physical body alone was a level higher. Compared to an advanced black domain master, its physical body was much stronger. After all, the law of earthquake is a superior law. Even if it's at a disadvantage against the true intent of space, it's still much better than intermediate and inferior laws. Moreover, there's almost no true intent of space in the Chan River. The Chan River monsters relied on the Chan River's light to increase their strength. By absorbing the Chan River's energy, the Chan River itself was a great Tao. As long as one absorbed enough of the Chan River's energy, they could become a black domain master. The method was simple, but was also severely limited. Because of the Chan River's limitations, it was very difficult for the monsters to become a black domain master. There were advantages and disadvantages. The laws aren't at a disadvantage, and the physical body is tyrannical. The Tyrannosaurus Rex clone strength can only be stronger than the main bodies. Lin Feng was very clear that, at least in the Chan River, the Tyrannosaurus Rex clone's strength wasn't inferior to the main bodies. It was enough to easily defeat an ordinary advanced master of the Dark Domain and fight against a true advanced master of the Dark Domain. However, there's still a gap between it and a peak advanced Black Domain master. Lin Feng thought of the North Chan River's top 10 experts. His current strength was still inferior to them. However, in the second and third trials, he shouldn't be at a disadvantage. In the entire North Chan River, they could be considered experts. The earthquake fluctuation just now wasn't a coincidence. Lin Feng understood that there was no such thing as a coincidence in the world. Even without the earthquake fluctuation just now, it wasn't impossible for him to comprehend it. However, it was precisely the intense fluctuation just now that allowed him to comprehend the law of earthquake and reach the peak realm. Chan Pagoda, who is helping me? Lin Feng was curious. A figure appeared in his mind, and his eyes shone brightly. It's about time to go back. Lin Feng did not know how much time had passed, but it was not important. He would naturally know when he returned to Gemini Mountain. Lin Feng took one last longing look at Chan Jie Tower before leaving. 4 years later, just as Lin Feng had expected, Gemini Mountain was in chaos. As more and more Chan River demons reached the end and found the way to the third checkpoint, the term Black Blood was brought up, and the Chan River demons fought over it. The four fiends were almost nowhere to be found. Even though the Chan River demonic beast experts had dug 3 feet into the ground, the Twin Mountains were a maze after all. How could it be so easy to determine the direction? Of course, there were also those who were lucky enough to enter the small confusion realm and quickly gather enough black blood. Moreover, there was more than one set. For example, Lin Feng. There were also those with tyrannical strength who killed 10 to 20 Chan River demons to gather enough black blood and pass the third checkpoint. However, there were even more who killed each other, trying to gather enough black blood, but to no avail. It was very difficult. There were 4 types of black blood, and the fiends were good at hiding. Many Chan River demons did not have even half a drop of black blood on them, yet they were still killed inexplicably. There was no reason to speak of. Boom! Lin Feng had not been out for long when he was attacked. When an intermediate black region master saw Lin Feng, he did not even think before throwing a punch. In his opinion, he should just kill a chaos hole immortal. There was no need to think so much. However, he did not expect, what? The intermediate black domain master's eyes widened in shock. He used his full strength to throw a punch, but it was as if he had hit a solid iron block. The chaotic hole immortal didn't even try to dodge. Instead, his fist felt numb. In the next instant, his head exploded and he lost consciousness. So easy. Lin Feng was very satisfied. The strength of this intermediate black region master was about the same as the Tyrannosaurus clone, but in front of him, he could not even withstand a single blow. The difference was not ordinary. Just his body alone had strengthened by several times, and his strength had increased by nearly 10 times. There were a few drops of black blood. Lin Feng kept them in his bag, but they were not of much use. This intermediate black region master had the same amount of black blood as him. They were the two types he had the most. The fourth type of black blood was at the end of the oval yellow symbol. He only had 4 drops, so there were 4 sets of black blood. He had a lot of the first and second types of black blood, and he had nearly 10 drops of the third type. Only the fourth type of black blood was left. Let's take a look around first. Lin Feng was not in a hurry. He continued to wander around casually, investigating the current situation of the Twin Mountains. At the same time, he looked for the small confusion realm to see if there was any luck. The first and third types of black blood. Lin Feng counted his spoils of war and kept them in his bag. With the strength of the Tyrannosaurus clone, wherever he went, people would spy on him. Almost every black region master who saw him would mercilessly attack him. Here, there was no mercy or mercy. Everyone fought for themselves, fighting for the throne of the North Chan River King. In order to collect the 4 types of black blood, the killing became more and more intense. Interesting. Lin Feng was also enjoying it. It just so happened that the Tyrannosaurus clone had just broken through. Constant fighting was more beneficial for consolidating his realm and increasing his combat strength. Killing and the path of strength had a very close relationship. Continue. After his strength increased, Lin Feng had nothing to fear. Now that Gemini Mountain had entered its 4th year, those peak black domain masters had long since killed enough and left after obtaining the black blood. Although there were still quite a few advanced black domain masters left, his current battle strength was still comparable to an advanced black domain master. Boom! Lin Feng's claw had boundless power. It directly tore apart the head of an advanced black region master. The other advanced black region master, who was about to launch a sneak attack, widened his eyes in shock. It was difficult to imagine that a chaos hole immortal would have such terrifying strength. No. Roaring in his heart, the advanced black region master reacted quickly. Seeing that the situation was not right, he immediately fled. But it was too late. You're already here, and you still want to leave? Lin Feng's voice rang out from behind. The space violently shook, and the boundless earth trembled, strangling the advanced black region master. Wave after wave of power came with terrifying claw shadows. Chi! Facing an opponent who had long since become timid, Lin Feng mercilessly killed. Blood splattered everywhere, and the mournful cries still echoed in his ears. Lin Feng's eyes lit up, and he stretched out his hand. A drop of the 4th type of black blood. Chapter 1536. The 4th type of black blood came from a Qi of the Qi, Mei, Wang, and Liang. It wasn't that the Qi had the least amount, but that it was more cowardly and better at hiding. In fact, there weren't many of the 3rd type of black blood either. Most of them were Ho and Mei, because they were more aggressive. Now, I have 5 sets. Lin Feng kept them in his bag. Although he didn't know what to do with these 5 sets of black blood, there was no doubt that these treasures for passing the second trial were very valuable. Lin Feng didn't care. Right now, he was more eager to fight. The T-Rex clone was different from the main body. The T-Rex was a demon beast, a savage beast. Only through battle and slaughter could it unleash its savage nature, heart, and killing intent. Through battle and slaughter, it was easier to stimulate the potential of the bloodline and grow. Ferocious beasts mostly leveled up through slaughter. Every kill would bring great benefits to the ferocious beasts. For Lin Feng, killing and fighting could also help him improve his strength level and the realm of his saber technique. Cultivation wasn't just about secluded cultivation. The king of the northern Chan River, Tang Ji, had set up the second trial for the same reason. Only by experiencing numerous battles and massacres would one emerge as a true expert. The new king of the northern Chan River had to experience hardships and surmount thorns. As for the lives of the Chan River, what did it matter? As long as the Chan River didn't dry up, there would be an endless supply of life. Lin Feng's luck wasn't bad. If he had come out 2 years earlier, the current situation wouldn't have been so easy. For years had passed, and the masters of the Dark Region at the top of the pyramid had all left. The remaining masters of the Dark Region were weaker by a level. Of course, not all the powerful masters of the Dark Region had left. There were a few who didn't leave. They were relatively slow because they couldn't find a way out and were trapped in the maze. Lin Feng had met one of them. How about we make a deal? Lin Feng retreated a little, increasing the distance between them. After killing so many Chan River demons, he had finally met a tough nail. What? The horned monster from Chan River was dumbfounded. I'll bring you to the exit of Gemini Mountain and give you a set of black blood to leave with. Lin Feng's eyes shone brightly. The horned Chan River demon race in front of him had a perverse defense. Furthermore, his recovery ability was extremely strong. He was also an immortal body. He couldn't kill him, and of course, he couldn't do anything to him either. Oh, the Oxhorn Chan River, Yao nodded stiffly. Thank you. Thank you? Lin Feng was taken aback. He smiled bitterly and said, what I mean is, give me some treasures, and I'll help you pass the second checkpoint. Oh. The Oxhorn Chan River Demon Race member stared at Lin Feng without blinking his bell-sized eyes, as if he didn't understand. After a long time, he said, when do we leave? Lin Feng laughed loudly. He had indeed been defeated by the slow Chan River Demon Race. How about this? Fight with me a few more times. Lin Feng wasn't a wishy-washy person. With a roar, he leaned forward and attacked. His claw attack fully displayed his saber arts realm and fused the law of earthquake into it. Roar! Oxhorn Chan River Demon Race members' eyes lit up as he charged forward. Fighting was his favorite. 3 days later, Lin Feng and Oxhorn Chan River Demon Race members set off. No discord, no concord. Although the man and demon didn't hit it off at first sight, they had developed a friendship through fighting. His name was Niu Hun, and he was indeed muddle-headed. He was clearly very strong, but he had nothing. He didn't even have an interspatial ring, much less treasures. Brother Niu, haven't you obtained any treasures before? Asked Lin Feng curiously. What? Niu Hun was stunned. It's special treasures that contain energy. Lin Feng took out a chaos hole mystic treasure. For example, this. What's the use of this? Asked Niu Hun. All right. Lin Feng was completely defeated. Chan River was huge, and there were all kinds of Chan River Demon Race members. But perhaps it was because of this that Niu Hun could possess such strength. He did not rely on external items and only focused on himself. His cultivation in the nomological laws of Earth was rather high. All 6 nomological laws of Earth were at the phenomenal success stage. In front of his nomological laws of Earth, Niu Hun was completely suppressed. As the saying went, one could defeat 10 with brute force. Niu Hun looked dumb, but in terms of cultivation, he was very intelligent. If not for the fact that he was not good at using his advantages, Lin Feng would not have been his match. He controlled all the nomological laws of Earth. Among the Chan River Demon Race members that Lin Feng had met, none of them could compare to Niu Hun, including the top 10 experts of North Chan River. If he can fuse all 6 nomological laws of Earth, even if it's only at the phenomenal success stage, there are probably only 3 experts in the entire North Chan River who are stronger than him. Lin Feng knew very well. This was something that Niu Hun could very well do. Now, his attacks often contained 2 or 3 nomological laws of Earth. It was not deliberate, but he did it according to his heart. Brother Nyo, why don't you cultivate one nomological law like the other Chan River Demon race members? Asked Lin Feng. Isn't it good to cultivate more? Asked Nyo Han. No, but Lin Feng hesitated for a moment, not knowing what to say. Indeed, wasn't it good to cultivate more? There was no harm in having more skills. The more nomological laws one grasped, the stronger one would be. Nyo Han laughed and said, because I'm stupid, I can only cultivate to the phenomenal success stage. So, I cultivate more. The phenomenal success stage is not weak. The more you cultivate, the more powerful you will be, said Lin Feng. Don't lie to me. I can't even beat you. How can I be powerful? Said Nyo Han. How could an advanced Black Domain Master be powerful if he could not beat an immortal chaotic hole? Lin Feng was speechless. That's because you haven't found a way. Lin Feng could only answer like this. What way? Nyo Han looked like he wanted to get to the bottom of this. Lin Feng pondered and said, for example, you could try to stack all the nomological laws of Earth together and turn them into a force. Then I won't be your match. Oh. Nyo Han stared with his bell-sized eyes and answered noncommittally. However, Lin Feng didn't know whether or not he understood. Lin Feng had no way of investigating. It was fate that brought them together. Lin Feng was a good person to the end. He sent Nyo Han all the way to the end of the Twin Mountains. After passing through layers of illusions and mazes, they quickly found the way out. This was not difficult for Lin Feng. So it's here. I thought it was on the 2 mountains. Nyo Han chuckled as if he was suddenly enlightened. That's just an illusion used to mislead. Lin Feng smiled. The 2 mountains were naturally referring to the Twin Mountains. Nyo Han rubbed his head and smiled foolishly. The second checkpoint requires us to pass through the Twin Mountains. I thought we had to cross the 2 mountains. Thank you, Brother Tang Feng. Nyo Han held Lin Feng's hand tightly. His smile was sincere and honest. I will definitely repay you. Nyo Han waved his hand and said goodbye to Lin Feng. He then turned his head and entered the passage. Lin Feng was left alone in a state of shock. Why didn't he think of it? Chapter 1537. Nyo Han's unintentional words woke Lin Feng up. Past Gemini Mountain. What was considered passing Gemini Mountain? Walking out of this maze? Or truly passing Gemini Mountain? If it was just walking out of this maze, why would Gemini Mountain appear? Why was this place called Gemini Mountain? It looked like a mirage, like a faraway horizon, but it was just an illusion. However, Gemini Mountain definitely existed. It really existed. The maze and illusion are just a cover. Reality is illusion, and illusion is reality. Lin Feng let out a long sigh, his expression solemn. All the Chan River Monster Clan members were looking for a way out of the maze after entering Gemini Mountain. No matter if they were smart or stupid, they would all walk the same path. This had nothing to do with being smart or not. It was purely a kind of instinct. After entering the maze, one would naturally find a way out. Everyone knew that the Twin Mountains were illusory and a trap. Naturally, they would not go there. Only Nyo Han was not misled at all. However, he was too stupid. Even if he walked in the right direction, he could not find the real path. Reality was illusion. To pass Gemini Mountain, one must first enter the deepest part of the maze, the most dangerous place. How could Nyo Han do it? So, this is the real hiding place of the second checkpoint. Lin Feng was completely enlightened. It was not the small maze realm, nor the 4 demons, but the real Gemini Mountain. All the doubts in the mind of the transcendent being who was above them and suppressing the entire labyrinth were all connected at this moment, and everything suddenly became clear. Go! Lin Feng had made his decision. Right now, he knew that there was a tiger in a mountain, but he still wanted to go there. However, before he left, he still had to solve a small problem. This brother seems to have a lot of black blood on him. Not far away, an advanced Black Domain Master appeared with a smile. Following his appearance, 5 other advanced Black Domain Masters appeared around him. Clearly, they were a group. Lin Feng was very calm. He had already noticed that these 6 advanced Black Domain Masters were sneakily hiding at the side. When he took the black blood for Nyohan, they were also there. They saw it, but did not make a move, because they knew Nyohan's strength. Although Nyohan was stupid, it was obvious that he enjoyed a certain reputation in Beichon River. But now that they were alone, they were not afraid. No one would care about an immortal chaos hole. It's smart of you to guard this place. Lin Feng's gaze swept across the group of high-level black domain masters, and a smile suddenly appeared on his face. Bullying the weak and fearing the strong is also the right way to do things. However, those who seem like soft persimmons might not be soft. A smile appeared on Lin Feng's face. In a split second, a cold air with a strong, killing intent surged out. Why? The complexions of the high-level black domain masters instantly changed. Just as the leader of the group shouted, Lin Feng's attack had already arrived, crushing everything in its path like a hot knife through butter. He had never been afraid of battle. There's quite a lot of black blood on them. After leaving the end of the passage, Lin Feng counted the belongings of these 6 advanced dark domain masters and discovered that they also had a dozen drops of black blood, but they were all of the first and second types. The third and fourth types of black blood were in short supply. After giving 1 set to Nyohan, Lin Feng still had 4 sets. He didn't mind. It was worth it to exchange a set of black blood for a favor from an expert. Moreover, the direct return was not small. If it weren't for Nyohan, he wouldn't have thought of the hidden part of the second checkpoint. Now, he had a clear direction. Lin Feng didn't know where the real Twin Mountains were, but he knew where the most dangerous and complicated part of the maze was. That was enough. The clouds parted to reveal the moon. The Twin Mountains must be in the deepest part of the maze, where the heart of the maze was. This was because the entire maze had the Twin Mountains as its core. Lin Feng quickly went deeper. The battle continued. All the monsters of Chan River were in a frenzy to obtain the black blood. Seeing Lin Feng, an immortal chaos hole, they naturally wouldn't miss it. However, the monsters of Chan River who came up with this idea were all dead. Lin Feng's luck wasn't that bad. It was already very rare for him to meet a top-grade monster like Nyohan. The deeper he went, the fewer monsters there were. The direction is right. Lin Feng hadn't encountered any monsters of Chan River in months. He knew that he was walking on the right path. Not only were there no monsters of Chan River here, but there were many ghosts and monsters. Ghosts and monsters kept appearing. The closer he got to the core, the more ghosts and monsters there were. Previously, he had 4 sets of black blood. Now, he had as many as 12 sets. Outside, every set was fought over. Boom! Lin Feng killed a few more ghosts, and his eyes lit up. These ghosts and monsters don't seem to want me to get close to this place. Lin Feng smiled. He already knew the reason. Either their lair was in the Twin Mountains, or they had secrets hidden in the Twin Mountains. Ghosts and monsters were also a type of life form with consciousness. They had always been good at hiding, bullying the weak, and fearing the strong. There had to be a reason for them to do this. He kept approaching and killing. Although Lin Feng didn't know where the correct path was, the closer he got to the heart of the maze, the more complicated it became. He had no idea if he was taking a detour or going deeper into the maze. However, there was a way to identify it: ghosts and monsters. The more ghosts and monsters that appeared, the more it proved that he was on the right path. Boom! Lin Feng once again killed 4 more ghosts and monsters that were desperately pouncing at him. 4 drops of black blood fell into his hands. He didn't even look at them and directly absorbed them. Nearly 20 sets of black blood were of little use to him. There was only 1 set that was really useful. Lin Feng's eyes brightened as he looked ahead. He could already see the thin clouds and mist. Pure, grayish-black mist covered the 2 giant mountains tightly. This wasn't an illusion, but a real existence. It was different from when he was under the pressure of the Twin Mountains. Now, he had already climbed up the mountain. Finally arrived. Lin Feng sighed. He had spent several months fumbling his way here. Although there wasn't much danger along the way, going around the same place every day was enough to drive one crazy. Hard work paid off. Lin Feng wasn't in a hurry to move forward. He took 1 step at a time, paying attention to his surroundings. The ghosts and monsters' attacks were very fast. If he wasn't careful, he would be ambushed. These mid-level Black Domain master-level ghosts weren't easy to deal with. As expected, just as Lin Feng took 2 steps forward, dozens of locust-like ghosts rushed out from the surroundings. They bared their teeth and bit at him. It was a situation where they wouldn't stop until one of them was dead. I've arrived at the ghost's lair. Lin Feng's lips curled. He lashed out with his tail whip and quickly controlled the law of earthquake. His claws lashed out fiercely as he quickly entered the zone. He glanced at the 2 giant mountains from the corner of his eyes. His heart was filled with anticipation. The deeper these ghosts and monsters were, the more peculiar it was inside. What could it be? Lin Feng was extremely curious. Chapter 1538. A fierce battle ensued. An endless stream of demons and monsters tried to block Lin Feng's path, but they couldn't stop him at all. Lin Feng's current strength could be considered pretty good even among advanced Dark Domain masters. These demons and monsters that only had the strength of intermediate Dark Domain masters were naturally not his match. They were quickly swept clean, leaving behind a few dozen drops of black blood. There were no more obstacles in front of him. Lin Feng followed the direction of the demons and monsters. Illusions flashed in front of him as if he was traveling through time and space, entering a new world. Hua! It was as if a mirror had been opened in front of him, shining brightly. Moving forward, illusions quickly appeared in front of him, but they quickly turned into bubbles and disappeared. Although it was the Tyrant Dragon clone, Lin Feng's will wouldn't change. Illusions were never a problem for him. Great! Reaching out his hand, Lin Feng's eyes lit up. Everything around him instantly scattered, entering a new world. It was dark and gloomy, the complete opposite of the first trial. The first trial, the Royal Heaven Pass, was dark inside, but the Chan World Tower was very bright. Here, there was a halo outside, and the inside was gloomy, as if it was a graveyard. Lin Feng looked at the twin mountains in front of him. They stood tall like tombstones on both sides, and the one in front of him was the tombstone. A huge tombstone. The entire graveyard was gloomy and shrouded in fog. The aura of corpses gathered from all directions, touching each other. Many of them actually became real, illusory and real, as if the previous forms of the demons and monsters. Demons and monsters, they really came from here. Lin Feng thought. Although this place was covered in fog and was very strange, the demons formed from the fog weren't affected and could come and go as they pleased. The reason why they disregarded their own safety and tried to stop him like moths to a flame was because they were afraid he would discover this place. This was their route, where the demons and monsters lived. Even the corpse aura here is their source, just like the Chan River to the Chan River Monster Clan. If they leave the Chan River Monster Clan strength will be greatly reduced, not to mention increasing their cultivation. Demons and monsters are the same. Lin Feng quickly understood. The fog in front of him formed a ferocious demon and bit at him, but it didn't even take form. Lin Feng's body naturally emitted the law of earthquake, directly shattering it. Interesting. Lin Feng smiled. There must be a reason why the king of the northern Chan River had set up the second checkpoint here. The person buried in this magnificent and enormous tomb was most likely not an ordinary person. Is it the previous king of the North Chan River, or even before that? Lin Feng wondered. What was the purpose of him leading him here? Lin Feng's eyes glinted. He was a man of great skill and courage. He immediately walked into the depths of the fog. The moment he entered the area where the fog was thick, he could hear the mournful cries of the ghosts. They went straight to the depths of his heart. The sinister corpse aura seeped in from all directions and corroded his body. The environment. From time to time, unformed demons would attack. Their strength couldn't even compare to the demons outside, so they couldn't pose a threat to Lin Feng. As he slowly advanced, his field of vision gradually widened. He saw black willow, the wisps in front of him, flickering like fireflies. It was extremely strange. Lin Feng gave a soft "oh" as his eyes shone. He reached out to touch the black willow, the wisps, and his eyes immediately lit up. This, Lin Feng didn't dare believe it. The black willow, the wisps contained an astonishing dark demonic aura. The Chan River didn't have dark energy. How is this possible? Lin Feng was shocked. He scanned his surroundings and saw that there were quite a number of floating black will-o'-the-wisps. The black haze would sweep over from time to time and happily sweep away the black will-o'-the-wisps. It made an unpleasant sizzling sound, as if it was chewing. Clearly, they were treating the black will-o'-the-wisps as food. The fog was the demon's previous form. The reason they can form demons and monsters and take physical form should be because of the black will-o'-the-wisps. Lin Feng understood. The black will-o'-the-wisps were too similar to the black blood of the demons and monsters. Clearly, the black blood came from this. Dark demons. I should have thought of this. Lin Feng carefully examined the black will-o'-the-wisps. The two had a lot in common and were excellent supplements for his main body. However, he couldn't reveal his main body right now. Moreover, he didn't have time to absorb the black will-o'-the-wisps. Let's talk about this later. Lin Feng did not stand on ceremony and collected the black will-o'-the-wisps. The more, the better. The black will-o'-the-wisps were not very useful to the other Chan River demons, but to him, they were no different from top-grade treasures. There were many black will-o'-the-wisps around him. Lin Feng collected them as he moved forward. The black will-o'-the-wisps in front of him became denser. This place was like a special region of the Chan River. The source should be there. Lin Feng finally saw a tombstone. It was a huge and majestic tombstone. It was a simple and unadorned pitch-black color. It towered high into the clouds, and he couldn't see its peak. On both sides of the tombstone, twin mountains protected it like guardian gods. Countless black will-o'-the-wisps surrounded the tombstone as if they were its children. There were at least 1 million of them. They circled, danced, and appeared from time to time. The two were inseparable. I've hit the jackpot. Lin Feng was overjoyed. He had only collected a few thousand black will-o'-the-wisps. He had thought that he would only get tens of thousands at most. He didn't expect to see 1 million black will-o'-the-wisps in front of him. How terrifying was the dark demon energy contained in them. It's comparable to the Chan River light I exchanged for in the first checkpoint. Lin Feng knew very well that although the black will-o'-the-wisps were far inferior in terms of energy, they won in numbers. There were 1 million of them. 100%. It can raise my dark demon to the pinnacle realm. Lin Feng was very certain. If he could collect all the black will-o'-the-wisps, his main body strength would increase by almost 100%. It would go from large success to pinnacle, just like the Tyrant Dragon avatar, and become a peak chaotic immortal. Luck would always change, no matter how it came. Lin Feng smiled and didn't stand on ceremony. He directly collected the black will-o'-the-wisps. He didn't care where this place was. He had entered a treasure mountain and taken it first. These black will-o'-the-wisps were too important to him. They were all in his pocket. The number of black will-o'-the-wisps around the tombstone kept decreasing. They went from 1 million to 100,000 and then to 100,000. Lin Feng quickly collected all of them. After collecting the black will-o'-the-wisps, the tombstone gradually revealed its true appearance. Under the black will-o'-the-wisps, there was a faint flickering black light. The ancient characters of the Chan River Demon Clan appeared one after another. Lin Feng's eyes shone brightly as he kept collecting the black will-o'-the-wisps. The words on the tombstone became clearer and clearer. When all the will-o'-the-wisps were absorbed, the tombstone was completely revealed. The Tomb of Deshan. Lin Feng read out the name. Chapter 1539. Mount Andy. Lin Feng frowned. He had never heard of it. He had only devoured a small part of Tang Xian's territory, so his knowledge was limited. Apart from Tang Xian's territory, everything else was hearsay. Although Mount Andy was buried here, it had been a long time, so long that most of the Chan River demons had probably forgotten about it. The long river of history was like this. The only thing he was certain of was that Mount Andy was not an ordinary Chan River demon. Just the twin mountains and the mysterious tombstone were enough. Moreover, There were so many ghost fires outside Mountain's tomb, which contained dark demonic energy that Chan River did not have. Lin Feng looked around carefully. There were no other Chan River demons around. The entire tomb was filled with a ghostly and eerie aura, as if it wanted to eat people. Am I the only one who discovered this place? Or were there other Chan River demons who discovered this place before but left? Lin Feng thought to himself. Just like the first trial, he was not the only one who had entered the Chan World Pagoda. The hidden mission set by the North Chan River King was not easy, but it was not extremely difficult either. There would always be some clues that could be solved. The second trial was the same. If someone like him was deliberately searching for the secret of the trial, the mystery of the Twin Mountains would be solved sooner or later. If he could come here, the other Chan River demons could also come here. However, he was the only one here. Is there nothing here other than the black ghost fires? Lin Feng did not understand. The 10-year time limit was still very long. If the other Chan River demons had entered this place, there was no reason for them to leave so early, unless they could not discover anything. Let's go take a look. Lin Feng looked around. Although the entire area was huge, it was not densely packed. It was a desolate and eerie graveyard where a strong warrior of the Chan River monster race was buried. Outside the tomb were the Twin Mountains. Lin Feng had climbed them before, but his gains were mediocre. Although he had the fruit of heaven and earth, it was useless to him. After searching the area 3 times, Lin Feng did not find anything suspicious. He then returned to the tombstone and thought to himself, perhaps there were some treasures that were taken away. He could not be sure, because it was very late when he arrived. Those who needed to complete the mission had already completed it, and those who needed to leave had already left. If there really is a secret here, and it hasn't been taken away, then Lin Feng looked at the tombstone in front of him, his eyes bright. This tombstone is the only one left. It was a strange and majestic tombstone, the tomb of Andashan. It was as if it led to the endless sky. It was unknown how such a tall tombstone was built. Lin Feng stretched out his hand and lightly touched the tombstone. The ancient runes revealed a bit of aura. It was very weak, but he could feel it because the tyrant dragon also cultivated the Tao of darkness. It was very faint, but it definitely existed. It resonated with his Tao of darkness. Is there a problem with the tombstone? Lin Feng frowned and shook his head. The problem was definitely not the tombstone. It was just a giant rock. No matter how strange it was still a giant rock. The real problem should be under the tombstone. The tombstones were definitely connected to something, which was why they were so strange. In addition, the black will-o'-the-wisps that constantly appeared around the tombstone were also surging through the tombstone. If one did not cultivate the Tao of darkness, it would be difficult to sense it. However, the tyrant dragon happened to have one, so it resonated. Lin Feng stared deeply at the tombstone and let out a long sigh. Senior Andashan, sorry for the offense. Digging. He directly went underground. Lin Feng was indeed audacious. No other Chan River Demon race member would have dared to do such a thing. He had actually done such a disgraceful thing. He was decisive and did not hesitate. Since he did his best, he naturally hoped for a good result. Moreover, Lin Feng was not a Chan River Demon, so there was no question of respect. The digging speed was extremely fast. It was bottomless. Since the tombstone could reach the sky, it could also go underground. A unique energy protected this land. The deeper Lin Feng dug, the more difficult it was. There were many obstacles. However, the more difficult it was, the more Lin Feng was certain that there was a problem under the tombstone. Day after day, after 10 consecutive days of digging, the bottom of the tombstone was empty. It was more than a few hundred meters deep. He could not see the top or the bottom. Bang, bang, boom. Lin Feng constantly smashed apart the dirt and stones. Because the dirt and stones that were connected to the tombstone had absorbed the dark demon energy over the years, they had also become incomparably tough. This caused Lin Feng to expend a great deal of effort. He slowly approached. Although he could not sense anything, Lin Feng's intuition told him that there was something below. The secret of the second checkpoint, the intention of the North Chan River King, Tang Ji. What could it be? Boom! Lin Feng smashed the soil again. After several twists and turns, he finally reached the bottom layer of the tombstone. A faint black light flickered, like the entrance to hell. As expected, Lin Feng's eyes flashed as he accelerated his digging. The deeper he went, the brighter the black light became. It was shining from the cracks of the soil. It was like Pandora's box was opening bit by bit, revealing its true face. Hua! Lin Feng blasted apart the last layer of mud and stone, revealing the great formation beneath the tombstone. Streaks of divine patterns covered it densely, intersecting with each other. It was incomparably profound. He could not understand it, but it did not matter, because the entire array used it as the core. An extremely pure black sun was placed in the middle of the divine rune array. It was like the sun emitting light and heat, illuminating the entire area. The dark demonic energy was very dense. It was transmitted to the top of the array. Although it was reduced by 90%, the energy was still abundant. The source of the black blood. To be precise, it was the source of the black will-o'-the-wisps. This array, Lin Feng's eyes lit up. He probed it with his aura. He thought that it was a very sturdy array, but it was not. Although the divine runes were dense, the energy was not abundant. It seemed to have weakened by half as time passed. Or had it been tampered with? Lin Feng did not know, but it did not matter if he knew or not. Now that there was a treasure in front of him, it would be a waste not to take it. As for the origin of the black willow, the wisps, and the use of the black sun, it would not be too late to study it after he got it. Pung, pung, pung. Lin Feng directly attacked the array. His speed was relatively fast. The array, which was already low in energy, was in imminent danger. Light flickered continuously. On the other hand, the black sun was even more excited. It was as if it had sensed the array's weakness and was about to break free. In next to no time, under Lin Feng's continuous attacks, the restriction grand formation shattered with a bang. Hua! Extremely resplendent black light illuminated the entire underground layer. It was as if it had finally broken free after being shackled for thousands of years. The intense light shot in all directions, full of excitement. Lin Feng reached out and grabbed the black sun. Suddenly, his expression changed. This, chapter 1540. Ha ha, ha ha. After tens of thousands of eras, I and Deshan have finally seen the light of day again. Black Wing, you bastard. How dare you plot against me? I'll destroy your soul and never let you reincarnate. Roar, roar. In Lin Feng's mind, an evil demon with long dragon horns suddenly appeared. Its red face was twisted and ferocious, and its entire body exuded an indescribably terrifying aura, as though it could devour everything. It was the Black Sun. Lin Feng finally understood why none of the demons from Chan River dared to dig 3 feet into the ground to look for treasures. Even before he had arrived, the demons from Chan River had not dared to be disrespectful because of the name and Deshan. The aura of the dragon-horned evil demon in his mind was so terrifying that it was far stronger than any of the demons from Chan River or the winged men he had ever met. Even the top 10 experts from North Chan River were like children in front of it. He had mentioned Blackwing. There was only one Blackwing in the entire Tongchi continent. He was one of the 3 wing monarchs, the Blackwing monarch who ruled the South continent. His strength was unparalleled in the Tongchi continent. Roar, roar. His body was filled with a violent aura, and dark demonic energy surged wildly from the dazzling black sun. To be precise, it was in Dishan's demon core. He had hidden his soul in his demon core and was immortal for tens of thousands of years. This kind of strength was breathtaking. Now, he was not destroying his own body. Instead, he was taking over his body. Simply put, it was possession. What's going on? Where's the soul? And Dishan's laughter suddenly stopped. He could not feel the existence of his soul. He was confused and panicked. Wait, why is there no energy from Chan River? What's going on? And Desan was completely dumbfounded. He had never imagined that it was Lin Feng's avatar that had devoured him, not the Chan River demons. Although it was true that the tyrant dragon avatar was a ferocious beast and had a soul, but Lin Feng had the 10,000 origin mustard rock. It was the strongest soul protection. Even a complete soul wouldn't be able to break through the 10,000 origin mustard stone, even if it was 10 times stronger. Lin Feng had his own boldness, his own confidence, and his own absolute certainty. Only he could devour and refine others. No one could refine him. Hua! Lin Feng released his spiritual energy, instantly colliding with the black sun. Right now, it was as if he had trapped in Deshan in his body. He could slowly refine him, and when his soul power was exhausted, he could recover by resting in the 10,000 origin mustard stone. Then, he continued to refine. As long as Indishan's soul couldn't leave, it was only a matter of time before it was refined. The demon core's energy was slowly being melted, bringing with it a rich and surging dark devil energy that filled his body. That pure dark devil energy caused Lin Feng to go wild with joy. Dark magic. A top-notch, no, a perfect law of dark magic. A law of dark magic that was only a step away for Paragon. Every time the demon core melted, a sliver of dark devil law would be grasped by the tyrant dragon clone. Although this didn't mean that the main body would be able to grasp it as well, it would definitely benefit him greatly. It would bring unimaginable convenience and simplicity to the main body's future cultivation of the law of dark magic. More importantly, the tyrant dragon clone's strength had increased. He was proficient in the Tao of Earth and the Tao of Darkness. Because of his bloodline, Lin Feng had chosen to give up on cultivating the Tao of Darkness. Who would have thought that he would be able to obtain such a great opportunity today? Dark energy was absorbed. Dark magic was comprehended. Even if the tyrant dragon clone's talent in the Tao of Darkness was average, it was like an expert passing down his entire life's worth of knowledge. Whether or not one's talent was strong only meant that one could absorb it quickly or slowly. It didn't mean that one couldn't absorb it at all. All of Indishan's understanding of the law of dark magic was within his demon core, and now it was all given to Lin Feng. No. And Deshan was extremely terrified. In order to take revenge and see the light of day again, he had put in so much effort and waited for tens of thousands of years. He had endured unbearable loneliness and suffering. He thought that he had finally escaped, but he didn't expect to jump into another predicament. It was worse than before. I don't want to die. Help! Spare me. At this moment, and Deshan no longer had the demeanor of a formidable expert. No matter how strong he was, when faced with death, he was no different from an ordinary expert. Let me go. I'll give you everything. And Deshan kept begging for mercy. He was extremely terrified. He had inexplicably entered the body of someone who wasn't from the Chan River Demon Clan. What was even more terrifying was that this person didn't even have a soul. Although Indishan's soul was strong, it was limited by the demon core. Once the demon core was refined, what awaited him would be cruel devouring and the destruction of his body and soul. Previously, his grand words had yet to be realized. He didn't expect it to happen to him. In the Imperial Palace, the king of the North Chan River, Tang Ji, lowered his eyes slightly. It was extremely dim, like a dying old man with a long tail behind him. It was almost impossible to feel any breath or life force. Beside him, the first Princess Tang Wanfeng's subordinates were meticulously guarding and controlling him tightly. Suddenly, Tang Ji raised his head abruptly. His dim eyes shone brightly, and his wrinkled face revealed a shocked expression. His thin and cracked lips wriggled. Impossible! How is this possible? Everything was carefully arranged by him. He naturally knew of the existence of Deshan. This was a super expert who was extremely troublesome for the Winged Men clan. He had a strange temper, but he was extremely powerful. If Deshan escaped, the entire North Chan River would be ruled by him. Tang Ji didn't care. He would rather to give a North Chan River to Deshan than to Tang Wanfeng. Just now, he had already sensed that Deshan had escaped. His soul force was extremely strong, but now it was completely silent. There was no reaction at all, as if his body and soul had been destroyed. Impossible. With Indishan's strength, No Chan River Demon Clan can resist his possession. What happened? Tang Ji was extremely shocked. His dry lips squirmed, but he couldn't understand. He naturally didn't expect that the one who opened in Dishan's seal would be a human. In fact, before Lin Feng, several Chan River Demon Clan members had arrived here, including the one-eyed swallow of the 10 great experts, and one of the 3 great experts, Violet Electric. But they didn't enter. Especially Violet Electric, she completely saw through Indishan's plot. Because of her identity and status, she already knew about Indishan's seal. But Lin Feng didn't know. Even if he knew, he wouldn't care, because Indesan couldn't do anything to him. The 10,000 origin mustard stone. It completely countered all souls. Chapter 1541. Spare me. Don't kill me. I'll listen to you. No, don't. Cries and shouts continuously entered his mind, but Lin Feng remained indifferent. Being merciful to one's enemy was being cruel to oneself. Furthermore, this enemy was far stronger than oneself. Nobody knew what would happen if one showed any mercy. The simplest way was to eliminate all possibilities. From begging for mercy to threatening, from putting on a tough front to goading Lin Feng into action, and Desan had tried everything he could think of. However, Lin Feng remained unmoved. Truth be told, Lin Feng was currently immersed in comprehending the laws of darkness. It was extremely huge. The dark demon law that Desan had mastered was like a child falling into a sea of books to Lin Feng. Every book was enough for him to read and comprehend for a long time. There was a difference of 2 whole levels between them. And Dishan's dark demon law was at the pinnacle of perfection. It was only 1 level away from Lin Feng's pinnacle. This was still a gap between him and his main body. The gap between him and the T-Rex clone was even greater. Every time the demon core melted, it would give Lin Feng abundant dark demon energy and comprehension. Lin Feng absorbed it hungrily and contentedly. Time passed slowly. Month after month, year after year. Time passed quickly during cultivation. In the blink of an eye, the 10-year limit was almost over. Lin Feng also knew that it was time for him to leave. And Desan was already half dead. There was no movement from him. After absorbing more than half of the demon core's energy, the T-Rex clone's dark demon law had already reached greater mastery a few years ago. It was only 1 step away from the pinnacle. It was only a matter of time before it surpassed the main body. Unfortunately, my dark demon aptitude has only improved a little. Lin Feng felt that it was a pity. The only flaw was that this improvement was due to the sublimation of his dark demon law. And Dishan's demon core provided him with dark demon energy and law comprehension. As for his innate talent, it was related to his bloodline. It's almost time to go to the 3rd checkpoint. In the past few years, Lin Feng's strength hadn't improved much. It was incomparable to when he had advanced from an ordinary chaotic whole undying to an ordinary chaotic whole undying. However, his body had still strengthened by a few percent. The increase in combat strength was only 10% to 20%. It's better than nothing. Lin Feng smiled and didn't mind. From his point of view, this kind of improvement was already very slow. Little did he know that after reaching the immortal rank of a chaotic whole, it was already very good to be able to increase one's strength by 10% in an era. Which of those masters of the black domain hadn't accumulated their strength over the years? There were very few who were truly talented. However, once I devour all the demon cores, my strength will definitely improve by another level. In terms of dark magic alone, once you reach the peak level, your strength will increase tremendously. Lin Feng knew very well that the reason why his strength hadn't increased much was because he had already reached the peak of the law of earthquake. Thus, his mastery of dark magic was useless. However, if he could raise his dark magic to the same level as the law of earthquake and merge the 2 together, there was no need to mention the increase in his combat strength. Very soon, as long as I have enough time for the 3rd checkpoint. Lin Feng smiled. He leaped out of the ground and left the Andy Mountain graveyard. 10 years was a very short period of time for a cultivator. Almost every cultivation, small seclusion, and comprehension could be used up. However, for the checkpoints, 10 years was a long time. During these 10 years in Gemini Mountain, countless members of the Chan River Devil race had died. In order to compete for the black blood, Gemini Mountain had become a purgatory. The thick smell of blood assailed his nostrils. Lin Feng returned from the graveyard and wrinkled his nose. One could imagine how many cruel massacres had happened here during his seclusion. The Chan River Devil race had suffered at least tens of thousands of casualties. Those who died were at least intermediate masters of the Black Domain. There were also some advanced masters of the Black Domain. I have quite a lot of black blood on me. Lin Feng smiled. However, a set of 4 drops of black blood was enough. More would be useless. In terms of energy, it was far inferior to the light of Chan River. In terms of effect, it couldn't compare to the Black Will-o'-the-Wisp. Moreover, he only had about 20 sets of black blood. It wasn't even a drop in the bucket for the Black Will-o'-the-Wisp. Even so, he wouldn't give these 20 sets of black blood to other members of the Chan River Devil race. They were neither relatives nor friends. He wouldn't be so kind. Neo-hun was an example. Anyway, I've earned enough from this trip. Lin Feng didn't care about profit or loss. More importantly, he would soon pass the 3rd checkpoint. He was familiar with the path. To Lin Feng, this maze was like his home. He could enter and exit as he pleased. Along the way, he didn't see a single Chan River Devil race member. Clearly, after these years of massacres, the number of Chan River Devil race members still alive was negligible. Lin Feng arrived at the end of the 2nd checkpoint without any disturbances. Oh! Lin Feng's eyes lit up. This time, he saw quite a number of Chan River Devil race members. They were all gathered at the end of the oval yellow passageway, waiting for him. When they saw him, they couldn't help but glance over. A Chaos Hole Immortal. TSK, I thought was a master of the Black Domain. I was happy for nothing. The Chan River Devil race members looked at Lin Feng with disdain and contempt. They were waiting for an expert to prey, so they could use their advantage in numbers to kill him and obtain the black blood. Lin Feng smiled, and a light flashed in his hand. 4 drops of black blood fell into his hand like 4 bright rays of light. Instantly, the Chan River Devil race members widened their eyes and gasped. Whoosh! Chi! Extremely fast, the Chan River Devil race members instantly moved to snatch the black blood. It's mine! It's mine! Damn it! Don't even think about snatching it from me. The Chan River Devil race members instantly went crazy. Although there was only 1 set, it represented a key to enter the 3rd checkpoint. Lin Feng wasn't showing off on purpose. The Chan River Devil race members blocked the entrance of the black blood, preventing others from approaching. If he wanted to leave, he would have to take out the black blood. They would definitely discover him. Rather than that, he might as well be straightforward. If they wanted to fight, he would accept it. Lin Feng smiled indifferently. His ferocious body lashed out with a tail whip, and his claws attacked as fast as lightning. They were mixed with a trace of dark demonic energy that originated from into Shan's demon core. However, most of it was the power of the law of earthquake. His peak realm was quite terrifying. Boom! Lin Feng's attack shocked everyone. Absolute strength, and absolute suppression. The Chan River Devil race members, who had been excitedly trying to snatch Lin Feng's black blood, were all dumbfounded. Seeing 2 high-level masters of the Black Domain being killed so cleanly by Lin Feng, they felt a chill in their hearts. Chi! Lin Feng was extremely decisive and didn't show any mercy. He killed the masters of the Black Domain one by one. Right now, no one could stop him from entering the 3rd checkpoint. Waiting for rabbits? What he waited for might not necessarily be rabbits. Chapter 1542. Corpses were strewn all over the place. The remaining advanced Black Region Masters stared at Lin Feng in horror, their bodies trembling and their eyes filled with fear. It was hard to believe that an immortal chaos hole could possess such terrifying strength. The current Lin Feng's strength was comparable to the upper echelons of high-level Dark Domain Masters. These Black Region Masters who had yet to pass were naturally not his match. In the Chan River, the strong were respected. Strength and rank were secondary. What mattered was one's combat strength. No matter what, he was still a powerhouse. Hua, birds and bees scattered. These advanced black domain masters, who originally still had a glimmer of hope, ran as far as they could for fear that they would be chopped into pieces if they were even a little slower. At their level of strength, how could they not see how terrifying Lin Feng's combat strength was? In the blink of an eye, more than a dozen Black Region Masters had been reduced to ashes. Even if this strength was not comparable to the North Chan River's 10 great experts, it was at least among the 100 great experts. The end of the passage was empty. Lin Feng smiled and did not pursue. He took out 4 drops of black blood and inserted them into the opening. The oval yellow passage in front of him bloomed with a bright luster, and the passage opened in an instant. His figure flashed and left Gemini Mountain. The second checkpoint passed. His vision was bright, and what entered his sight was a towering palace. Wine cups were crisscrossed and arranged in a disorderly manner in front of him. There were huge, lifelike sculptures that were hundreds of meters tall. In front of the palace was a square where the Black Region Masters were waiting. When they saw him appear, their eyes burned. Lin Feng smiled and nodded. He naturally knew the meaning in the eyes of these Black Region Masters. It was extremely rare for an immortal chaos hole to pass the second checkpoint. Other than himself, only Yuan Shi'ai's had done so. Lin Feng found Yuan Shi'ai's at a glance, because the number of Black Region Masters who had passed the second checkpoint had been greatly reduced from tens of thousands to just a little over 1,000. The elimination rate was extremely high. Of these 1,000-plus Black Domain Masters, more than 80% were advanced Black Domain Masters, the remaining 20% were intermediate Black Domain Masters, and there were less than 10 elementary Black Domain Masters. The only undying chaos holes were Lin Feng and Yuan Zhe. "Brother, do you have any extra black blood on you? I'm willing to buy it at a high price." Suddenly, a high-level Black Domain Master appeared in front of him with a smile. "Black blood? Buy?" Lin Feng was slightly startled. Before he could understand what was going on, another short advanced Dark Domain Master appeared. "I want as much black blood as you have. The price will definitely be higher than the red copper." "Red copper?" Lin Feng's gaze fell on the first advanced Dark Domain Master. His face was as red as a hot iron, just like his name. "Damn shorty, what did you say?" Hong Tong was so angry that his face turned red. "Let's compete fairly. The price is clearly stated, and the highest bidder wins." The shorter Dark Region Master coldly snorted. "Why don't you trade with me? My price will definitely be higher than the two of them." Another cultured and refined man walked up with a smile on his face. Lin Feng's heart trembled. Seeing that the Black Domain Masters were about to surround him, he immediately smiled and said, "What black blood do you want? I have quite a few of the first and second types." The Black Domain Masters were startled. Many of them shook their heads and walked away. Hong Tong stared at Lin Feng. "You don't have a fourth type of black blood?" Lin Feng said, "I also obtained a drop of the fourth type of black blood at the end. How could I have more? Otherwise, I wouldn't have come out so late." Let's go, let's go." The shorter Black Domain Master muttered to Hong Tong, "I was so happy for nothing. I thought there would be some left at the end." They came quickly and left quickly. In an instant, the Dark Region Master who had been surrounding Lin Feng dispersed in an uproar. Lin Feng smiled and walked towards Yin Zhe. Although he didn't know what had happened, he could roughly guess what had happened. Previously, he had thought that the black blood would be useless after leaving the second checkpoint. It seemed that wasn't the case. They were rushing over like ducks. These high-level Black Domain Masters were very thirsty for black blood. What had happened? "Hey, look ahead." Yuan Zhe smiled and pointed to the front. Lin Feng softly nodded and looked in the direction of Yuan Zhe's finger. It was a round crystal house that couldn't be seen from the outside. The crystal house flickered with illusory light, as if it hid many secrets. "Inside, you can use black blood to exchange for a boundary tower crystal," Yuan Zhe said. "Black blood for a boundary tower crystal?" Lin Feng couldn't help but be startled. He knew what a boundary tower crystal was. It was a common item in the boundary tower and could be used to exchange for treasures in the boundary tower. Previously, in order to cultivate the law of earthquake, he had already used up all the boundary tower crystals. Every set of black blood can be exchanged for 5 boundary tower crystals. Yuan Zhe's eyes flashed as he winked at Lin Feng. He naturally knew that Lin Feng had at least 3 sets of black blood, because when he and Lin Feng had separated, he already had 5 sets. Excluding the 2 sets they used to pass the second checkpoint, there were still 3 sets left. Moreover, he believed that with Lin Feng's strength, he should be able to get some in the next few years. Not many, but at least 5 to 6 sets. Oh, Lin Feng suddenly understood and was slightly happy. No wonder so many black domain masters had surrounded him to exchange for black blood. It turned out that they wanted to exchange for it at a low price without him knowing. Black blood was indeed worthless and useless to the Chan River demon race. But the Boundary Tower crystal was different. Even a single Boundary Tower crystal was worth a lot. Not to mention 5 Boundary Tower crystals. 1 set for 5 Boundary Tower crystals. So now I can exchange for over 100 Boundary Tower crystals? Lin Feng sighed inwardly. Not long ago, he couldn't make a decision because the Boundary Tower crystals were rare and he didn't know where to use them. Now, he was suddenly rich again. It seems that Brother Tang Feng has collected quite a few sets of black blood. Yuan Shiai's voice entered his ears. Lin Feng looked at Yuan Shiai's and nodded. Brother Yuan Shiai's, do you want them? Yuan Shiai smiled and shook his head. I'm not interested. Lin Feng also smiled. With Yuan Shiai's wealth, he could have anything he wanted. He didn't care about the Boundary Tower crystals. The treasures on the first floor of the Chan River Tower were very common to him. There's still 3 days. Brother Tang Feng quickly exchanged for them. However, Yuan Shiai's gaze swept over. It doesn't seem that easy. Lin Feng lightly nodded. There were many Black Region masters glaring at them. Although fighting and killing were forbidden here, it wouldn't be easy to enter the only crystal house with so many Black Region masters glaring at them. Whoosh! Lin Feng's eyes flashed. He didn't care about these Black Domain masters. Those true experts wouldn't lower themselves like this. However, if he didn't deal with them well, it would be troublesome. Lin Feng's gaze swept over, and his eyes suddenly lit up. He had an idea. Got it. Chapter 1543. It was actually very simple to solve this small problem. He just needed to find a powerhouse who could suppress them. Lin Feng could do it himself, but he couldn't fight here. An immortal chaos hole was hard to convince. As for Zhe, he couldn't bring out anything other than his identity. Here, not many demons would give him face. Brother Niu, Lin Feng greeted with a smile. When Niu Hun saw Lin Feng, his bell-sized eyes widened. He sounded very excited. Brother Tang Feng, although he was muddle-headed and a little stupid, he wasn't stupid. Niu Hun remembered that Lin Feng had helped him unconditionally. Niu Hun was very happy to see Lin Feng here. The human and demon quickly chatted. The surrounding Black Region masters were surprised to see Lin Feng and Niu Hun so familiar. Niu Hun was rather famous in the entire North Chan River, not only because of his muddle-headedness, but also because of his outstanding strength. He was most likely to become one of the next 10 great experts, and his name was on the list. He was proficient in all the laws of Earth. First, he had to raise all the laws of Earth to the peak. Second, he had to fuse the laws of Earth. No matter what he did, Niu Hun's strength would undergo an earth-shattering change. It was very likely that he would become one of the 10 great experts. Lin Feng didn't use Niu Hun as an excuse. Instead, he directly asked for his help. He had some friendship with Niu Hun, and given Niu Hun's personality, he wouldn't hesitate to go through water and tread on fire. Under the jealous and angry gazes of the crowd, Lin Feng entered the crystal house. None of the Chan River demons dared to have any ideas. This was because Niu Hun, who was beside Lin Feng, was looking around with his eyes wide open. It was as if he would start a fight at any moment. Niu Hun, who was known for being muddle-headed, wasn't someone that even the stronger Chan River demons didn't want to provoke, let alone an ordinary high-level Black Region master. Niu Hun wasn't weak. Lin Feng's eyes flickered as he entered the crystal house. It was different from what he had imagined. The crystal house was filled with the unique crystals of the Chan River. They were bright and beautiful. Each of the crystals emitted an enchanting luster, reflecting a resplendent door of light in the crystal house. In front of the light door, there was a crystal glaze. The bottom of the glaze had a dent in the front, back, left, and right, which was exactly the same as the one at the end of the passage. Lin Feng took out 4 drops of black blood and inserted them. In a split second, the crystal glaze emitted a bright light. The glaze above it bloomed like a flower, revealing 5 boundary pagoda crystals of the same size. Lin Feng put them away and pursed his lips. It was indeed the boundary tower crystal. So, this door of light leads to the Chan World Tower. Lin Feng glanced at it and understood in his heart. Although it wasn't labeled, it was obvious enough. It's all effortless. Lin Feng smiled in satisfaction. He then exchanged all 24 sets of black blood. He had thought that he would have to throw them away, but he had not expected that he would be able to make use of them and turn them into pearls and silver to exchange for a large number of Realm Tower crystals. 120 yuan. It's more than enough to enter the next level. Lin Feng's curiosity was piqued. He really wanted to know what treasures were on the second level of the Chan World Tower. Just the entrance fee alone was as much as 10 Realm Tower crystals. The treasures on the second level were probably worth at least 10 Realm Tower crystals. If he wanted to play it safe, exchanging for more light of the Chan River on the first level would be a wise choice. However, Lin Feng was not willing to do that. He was about to enter the third level, and the opponents and dangers he would face would be greater and greater. There was already no time for him to steadily increase his strength. Even if he did not find any suitable treasures on the second level, he would only be wasting 10 Realm Tower crystals. He could still return to the first level, while Lin Feng stepped into the door of light. As expected, he returned to the Chan World Tower again. Even without the Black Tower, he still returned. Just as he had guessed, the Chan World Tower did not only exist on the first level. In that case, the third or even the fourth level is very likely. It's also related to the Chan World Tower. Lin Feng made a mental note of it. Soon, he entered the first level. The familiar scene, the familiar ice sculptures had not changed. Lin Feng entered the end of the first level and inserted 10 Realm Tower crystals. It melted like water, and the transparent door of light that blocked his way disappeared. Before his eyes was a passageway that extended for thousands of kilometers. It was deep and slender, and it seemed as if it led to the boundless horizon. Walking up the stairs was like stepping into the clouds, and Lin Feng's eyes burned brightly as anticipation filled his heart. What was waiting for him on the second level? Treasures? Ice sculptures? Almost exactly the same as the first level? No, it was not. Pung! He fell heavily to the ground. Lin Feng opened his eyes wide and looked up at the sky. It was an empty white, a white without any life. There was nothing. He could not feel anything. It was like a world without life, a world without chi. A void. Challenge failed. As punishment, you will meditate in a different space in the Chan World Tower. The door to the space will open when the hourglass has fallen. A vigorous voice rang out, deep and indecisive. Lin Feng sat up and clenched his fists. He felt that there was nothing wrong with his body. An image appeared in his mind. It was the battle between him and the guardian beast of the Chan World Tower. He had been defeated. Defeated by the claws of the guardian beast of the Chan World Tower. He thought he would die. He did not expect it to be a punishment. His body was not hurt at all. Is this an illusion? Lin Feng stood up and moved his body. He frowned slightly, but it was so real. This is the different space of the Chan World Tower. Lin Feng felt a little depressed. It was very quiet here. The silence of the white was lonely. It was so quiet that it could make one go crazy. He had to stay in this barren place to meditate. Lin Feng did not know whether to laugh or cry. He was looking forward to the second level of the Chan World Tower. He did not expect to see such a scene. So, the opening of the Chan World Tower does not mean that you have the Chan World Tower crystal. If you do not have enough strength, you can only enter the first level. Lin Feng nodded. Strength was the real key to entering the Chan World Tower. How long will I have to stay? Lin Feng also had a headache. He was not worried about other things. The problem was that he was in the middle of a trial. The third level was about to open. Although he did not know the time limit this time, it would be a disadvantage if he entered too late. Moreover, there was a glimmer of hope if he entered late. What if it was already over by the time he left the different space? Lin Feng's eyes fell on the huge hourglass in the distance. It was hundreds of meters long. He looked up and saw a thick pile of sand. But the problem was the hole in the middle of the hourglass was smaller than a grain of rice. It was almost invisible. After a long time, only the sand the size of a fingernail fell. How long is that going to take? Lin Feng's eyes widened as he felt a headache coming on. Chapter 1544. Looking around for a way out, Lin Feng quickly gave up, because he had no choice but to give up. This was a completely independent space, a world of its own. Hence, it was called the alternate space. Other than white, there was nothing else. Even directions were difficult to discern. He almost lost his way when he was searching. There was no path and no end. Fortunately, he found the hourglass in the end. Otherwise, it would be troublesome. Looks like I can only stay here until the punishment ends. Lin Feng looked up at the hourglass. Not even 1/10,000th of the time had passed. If he really wanted to leave, he didn't know how long he would have to wait. However, he had to wait even if he didn't want to. The time and space here feels so thin. Lin Feng was a little depressed. The environment here was oppressive and uncomfortable. Not only time and space, but the other elemental energies were also extremely thin. He almost couldn't feel them. There was no sound, and he couldn't feel the passage of time. Only when the sand in the hourglass fell one by one, there were signs of life. Forget it. Even if I don't participate in the third test, it's not a big deal. Do I really want to become the king of the North Chan River? Lin Feng laughed and comforted himself. The reason why he participated was mainly to challenge himself and to sharpen his strength. Now, he had achieved the same effect. Just the demon core of Indeshan that he devoured was already worth the trip. Moreover, from the third test onwards, the difficulty would increase. It was very likely that he would encounter the top 10 experts of the North Chan River. If he entered the fourth test, the battle would be even more intense. Which of the top 3 experts of the North Chan River was easy to deal with? Perhaps I've avoided a disaster here. Lin Feng could only comfort himself. His eyes flashed, and he continued to refine the demon core in his body. Since there was no other way, he could only cultivate. Then, let's cultivate. Anyway, he needed time to refine and devour the demon core of Indeshan. This was the fastest way to strengthen his dark magic. Perhaps my dark magic will be able to reach the pinnacle very quickly here. Lin Feng focused his mind and entered a state of cultivation. There were pros and cons. Although there was nothing in the alternate space of the World Tower, it was precisely because there was nothing there that this place was quiet and peaceful. There was no need to worry about anything else, and one could focus even more on cultivation. The refinement of the demonic core was in full swing. And Dishan's roar could be heard in his mind from time to time, but he was like a frog trapped at the bottom of a well, unable to do anything. His strength was slowly being weakened. Once all the demon cores were refined, it would be the time of Dishan's death. The winner takes all. There was no need to be merciful. If Lin Feng didn't have the 10,000 origin mustard stone, he would have been the one to die. Although his soul wouldn't be devoured, his tyrant dragon avatar definitely wouldn't have survived. Time continued to pass as the refinement continued. Unknowingly, the sand in the hourglass had accumulated, but compared to the enormous hourglass, it was still not worth mentioning. But in reality, a lot of time had passed because the refinement of the demon core was almost 80% complete. At this time, Lin Feng's comprehension of the Dark Devil laws had also reached a critical point. The realm of Indeshan's dark magic was too high. Although it wasn't perfect, it wasn't far off. It had reached the pinnacle of perfection, all-encompassing. Every time Lin Feng refined the demon core, he would be able to comprehend a little bit like a drop in the ocean. But after all, there was a large base, and the accumulation was considerable. A little bit, and a little bit more. Now that the demon core was almost 80% refined, he finally broke through. This is the pinnacle realm, Lin Feng deeply felt. Although the tyrant dragon avatar's dark magic aptitude was average, its comprehension was the same as the main body's. Refining the demon core required more comprehension. In this aspect, the Tyrant Dragon avatar wasn't inferior to the main body. Its gigantic body began to change as top-level dark magic strengthened its physical body. Its scales became slightly pitch black, but they became even more durable and profound, and carried with them a magical power. The Tyrannosaurus Rex clone's body also changed, becoming even more ferocious and terrifying, as if it had been possessed. His body was pitch black, and his eyes were filled with killing intent. The bones of the Tyrannosaurus Rex clone made cracking noises as they grew stronger. The strengthening of the body was only a part of it. Most of it was the increase of the realm. The dark magic had reached the pinnacle and was on par with the earthquake law. Lin Feng's Tyrant Dragon avatar had not only stepped into the immortal chaotic whole realm, but had also stepped into two superior laws. Its combat power had been greatly strengthened. There were 3 levels to the immortal chaotic whole realm. They were the pinnacle immortal chaotic whole realm, the pinnacle immortal chaotic whole realm, and the invincible immortal chaotic whole realm. My strength has already surpassed the pinnacle immortal chaotic whole realm. If I can fuse 2 pinnacle superior laws, my strength will be comparable to an invincible immortal chaotic whole realm, and my combat power will reach the pinnacle. Lin Feng thought to himself. The Tyrant Dragon avatar was originally strong with its body, and its killing intent was tyrannical. To make up for its weak soul and ordinary realm, the Tyrant Dragon avatar's strength was absolutely extraordinary. At that time, even if I face the top 10 powerhouses of the North Chan River, I won't be at a disadvantage. Lin Feng's eyes flickered as he felt the 2 opposing forces in his body. Although they weren't compatible, at least they didn't reject each other. The Tao of Earth was all-encompassing, and its compatibility was quite high. Even so, fusion wasn't a simple matter, but it was a path he had to take. Only through fusion could his combat power undergo a great transformation. What? Lin Feng suddenly glanced at the huge hourglass, and his eyes widened. So much time had passed, but the hourglass's time wasn't even 1%. At least 3 years have passed since I refined the demon core. Lin Feng frowned. In other words, his punishment time in the Boundary Tower's alternate space was at least 300 years, or even longer. Although he couldn't determine the exact time, 300 years was still too long. Phew! Lin Feng let out a long sigh. If he had held onto a little bit of hope before, it had now been completely shattered. By the time he left, the matter of the North Chan River King would have already been settled. Let's leave it to fate. Lin Feng smiled casually. No matter what, he had already gained a lot this time. Just the Tyrant Dragon avatar's improvement was already precious, and now it had completely surpassed his original body strength. Since it's too late, it doesn't matter if my original body is exposed. Lin Feng released his original body. In this white void, with 2 figures as companions, it wasn't that lonely. He had to stay here for at least 300 years, which was quite a lot. His original body had to cultivate. Moreover, the North Chan River King might not be able to spy on the alternate space in the Boundary Tower. 300 years. Lin Feng's eyes flickered. His original body and his avatar began to cultivate at the same time. His original body could also comprehend part of the refinement of the demon core of Mount Andy, and his cultivation was twice as fast with half the effort. Chapter 1545. 300 years wasn't short, but it wasn't long either. That was especially so in this alternate dimension where he could barely sense time. He focused on cultivating and comprehending, and before he knew it, half of the hourglass had already passed. Lin Feng did not refine the demon core from a mountain, as refining it would not be of much use for now. The T-Rex clone's dark magic had already reached the pinnacle. Lin Feng planned to refine the remaining 20% of demon cores when he reached the pinnacle of his cultivation. Only then would he be able to make the best use of them. Right now, there wasn't much point. Fusing the law of earthquake and the law of dark magic was easier said than done. In the alternate dimension of the Boundary Tower, it was almost impossible to feel the existence of elements. After trying for a while, Lin Feng gave up and focused on cultivating the saber, the path of strength. Due to the suppression of the bloodline, it was very difficult for his main body to cultivate the path of the dark magic. Fortunately, he had obtained a huge amount of ghost fire from the Twin Mountains. Ghost fire with dark magic energy. Although there was a huge difference in energy compared to the light of the Chan River, the quantity was enough to make up for it. After absorbing 1,000,000 black ghost fire, the dark divine tattoo followed the black whirlpool and the light divine tattoo and reached a new level. The perfect bloodline greatly increased his main body's life level, and his strength became stronger day by day. Then, he used the law of dark magic that the T-Rex clone had comprehended to cultivate the path of the dark magic. From large success to pinnacle, it was very smooth. 300 years passed quickly. To Lin Feng, these 300 years were boring, but it was a period of time for him to consolidate his strength and increase his combat strength. Not only did the T-Rex clone's strength increase, but his main body had also completely transformed. It's a pity that there's no dark energy in the Chan River, Lin Feng said. It was difficult for him to become a regular fighting force just by relying on his own dark magic energy. His gaze fell on the giant hourglass. 300 years had passed, and it was reaching its end. Lin Feng looked at the last drop of sand in the hourglass. That familiar sound rang in his ears. Whoosh in the void, a door of light opened, and Lin Feng stepped out, returning to the Chan World Tower. At the end of the corridor was still the same deep staircase. Stepping onto the second floor, it was full of danger. Lin Feng's eyes flashed. He had two choices now. One was to return to the Imperial Palace, and the other was challenge it again. The guardian beast of the Boundary Tower. His strength was comparable to the best of the advanced Black Domain Masters. Although his strength had improved greatly in the past 300 years, he was still not confident. That day, when he was defeated by the claws of the guardian beast of the Boundary Tower, it was a crushing defeat, not a narrow defeat. If he was defeated again, what awaited him would still be a harsh punishment. Isn't it just 300 years? Lin Feng's eyes flashed as he pursed his lips and stepped onto the stairs. There was nothing to be afraid of. If he lost, he would just be confined for another 300 years. Lin Feng was also very stubborn. He did not believe that he could not defeat the guardian beast of the Boundary Tower. During the past 300 years of cultivation, the Tyrannosaurus Rex avatar had improved a lot. In particular, his dark magic had reached the highest level, which made his strength greatly improved. As for saber arts, Xiao Chun had already reached the first ascent of the Saber Heavenly Tao. He had already grasped all of the snowy saber arts. He was confident that he could fight the guardian beast of the Boundary Tower. Even if he lost, at least he wouldn't lose as badly as last time. Very quickly, pung, Lin Feng fell heavily to the ground and looked up at the white sky with his eyes wide open. It was pure white without any impurities. Lin Feng smiled and closed his eyes. The battle with the guardian beast of the Boundary Tower clearly appeared in his mind. He had been defeated once again. However, this defeat was no longer a crushing defeat, but a narrow defeat. Compared to a crushing defeat, a narrow defeat allowed him to gain a lot. It's about time. I've forced out 70 to 80% of the guardian beast's strength. Lin Feng's mind replayed the battle with the guardian beast of the Boundary Tower over and over again. Its strength was not as strong as the top 10 of the North Chan River, but it was indeed stronger than him. He was convinced that he had lost. However, being convinced and being defeated were two different things. The challenge has failed. As a punishment, you will meditate in the different space of the Boundary Tower again. The space door will open when the hourglass falls. Lin Feng was not surprised by the majestic voice that came out of nowhere. He was already prepared and tried his best to absorb the essence of this battle. Lin Feng was not discouraged at all. Instead, he had the idea of not admitting defeat. He wanted to defeat the guardian beast of the Boundary Tower fair and square. I'm going to waste my time with you. Lin Feng's eyes were full of determination. If the first time was not enough, he would do it twice. If the second time was not enough, he would do it 3 times. If the third time was not enough, he would do it 4 times. He did not believe that after 300 years of cultivation, he could not defeat a guardian beast of the Boundary Tower. He would definitely go to the second level of the Boundary Tower. 300 years in the second round. Clang, clang, pung. The Tyrant Dragon Avatar and Lin Feng continued to exchange blows. The same saber technique, the same heavenly way of the saber realm. There was no other power. It was a contest of saber techniques and sabers. It was very important to have an opponent who was on par with him. In this round of 300 years, Lin Feng did not cultivate anything else. Both Lin Feng and his avatar cultivated saber techniques together and improved together, comprehending the new realm of the heavenly way of the saber, surpassing the power level of the Dark Region Master. Into the marrow. The heavenly way of the saber. Into the marrow. There was no method, no path of comprehension. It was only hard work. This was very difficult. Lin Feng did not deliberately try to comprehend it. He spent more time honing his saber technique foundation and creating new saber techniques. The snow saber technique was only the foundation. It was to guide the saber technique. It was difficult to match the heavenly way of the saber initial arrival realm. The true heavenly way of the saber initial arrival saber technique could unleash 100% of the initial arrival realm. It could even unleash 120% or 150%. However, the snow saber technique could only unleash 10%. At most, it could not exceed 20%. The difference was huge. Nothingness. Loneliness. Endless. Lin Feng was in a different space in the World Tower, sensing everything in the space. He was creating and thinking calmly. He was immersed in his own saber technique realm. He was immersed in his own unique world. In his mind, there seemed to be a Lin Feng waving his saber. His saber was filled with loneliness and despair. It was nothingness, yet it was continuous and endless. Unknowingly, Lin Feng also waved his saber. It seemed like his body was moving unconsciously. It also seemed like he was pondering and comprehending. Every saber had its own unique essence. It reflected the loneliness of nothingness. Year after year, Lin Feng's saber technique kept improving and strengthening. The creation of a new saber technique allowed Lin Feng's understanding of the saber to continuously increase. Although he was still far from the marrow realm, he had already taken the first step after the heavenly way of the saber had first arrived. After 300 years of meditation, the initial arrival saber technique was completed. Since it was created by comprehending the different space of the Boundary Tower, the essence of the saber technique itself is nothingness. Then I shall call it Boundary Supreme Saber Technique. Lin Feng's eyes flashed. Whoosh! In front of him, the last drop of sand fell from the hourglass. A familiar sound came to his ears. Lin Feng stepped out with a smile. Compared to the first time, his steps were firmer and more stable. Confidence came from strength. Boundary Tower Guardian Beast, let's see how you win this time. Lin Feng was full of fighting spirit. Chapter 1546. Roar. A familiar roar came from the front again. Lin Feng entered the Boundary Tower stairs for the third time. This was the guardian beast that guarded the second floor of the Boundary Tower. Its huge and ferocious body was no less than the Tyrannosaurus Rex avatar. It was full of explosive power. Seeing Lin Feng's arrival, its eyes flashed fiercely. The guardian beast of the Boundary Tower. Howl! The space was torn apart. Although the guardian beast was huge, it was not slow at all. The first time Lin Feng fought with it, he was defeated because his body was not strong enough. It was not until his dark magic reached the top level that he was able to compete with the guardian beast of the Boundary Tower. Sizzle, sizzle. The power of the guardian beast of the Boundary Tower contained the powerful energy of the Chan River. It was an independent and complex energy that was very strange. It was enough to surpass the top superior law. This was a reason why Lin Feng was defeated for the second time. Their physical strength was equal, but their law was inferior. Although the earthquake law and dark magic were top level, they were not integrated. Moreover, it was difficult to exert the strongest power of the law. If he did not have the power of the heavenly way of the blade, it would not be a simple defeat. But this time, bang, the sharp claws collided. Lin Feng was not at a disadvantage, but he did not have the upper hand either. The guardian beast of the Boundary Tower retreated slightly, and the fierce light in its eyes grew stronger. The surging energy of the Chan River burst out, and the whole space shook violently. But at this time, Lin Feng fell into a dead silence. He was standing there, but not there. His body was a dead white, boundless, and illusory and vague. It vaguely contained a very strong power realm, but there was also an indescribable feeling. Suddenly, Lin Feng moved. Facing the brutal attack of the guardian beast of the Boundary Tower, the Tyrannosaurus Rex avatar waved its sharp claws and divided the violently shaking space into two. The dead silence made time seem to stop. The first move of the Boundary Sword technique, Silent White. Whoosh! The body of the guardian beast of the Boundary Tower stopped in midair and was suddenly divided into two. It turned into a flash of light and disappeared. The Tyrannosaurus Rex avatar flashed, and the space in front of it shattered like glass. The stairs to the second floor of the Boundary Tower were open. Actually, even if I don't use the borderless blade technique, I should be able to win. Lin Feng smiled. In the second battle, he had only lost by a small margin. After 300 years, his bladesmanship had improved a little. Coupled with his familiarity with the attacks of the Boundary Tower's guardian beasts, he had no problem winning. However, using the Boundary Saber technique was simpler and more direct. The first move, Silent White, is about 5 times stronger than the strongest move of the Snowy Saber art. Lin Feng thought to himself. It was difficult for the tyrant dragon doppelganger to unleash its full power. In this aspect, it was inferior to the main body. However, it was more than enough to kill the guardian beasts of the Boundary Tower. With my current strength, if I use the second move, Empty Realm, I might be able to exchange blows with the top 10 experts of the North Chan River. Lin Feng was very satisfied with his 600 years of cultivation. In the alternate space of the Boundary Tower, there was nothing. However, it was such an environment that made him more focused on comprehending and creating saber techniques and focusing on the path of strength. Although he had yet to create the third move of the Jian No blade technique, just the first and second moves were enough for him to stand at the top of the pyramid of Chan River experts. It's a pity that the position of King of the North Chan River has already been decided. Lin Feng thought to himself. Then, he stepped into the second level of the Boundary Tower. Right now, he really wanted to exchange blows with the top 10 experts of the North Chan River and test the results of his 600 years of cultivation. I wonder who has taken the position of King of the North Chan River. The 3 strongest experts? A bright light flashed before his eyes. Lin Feng entered a new realm. The second level of the Boundary Tower. It's indeed very similar to the first level of the Boundary Tower. Lin Feng's eyes flashed. He glanced around and saw ice sculptures standing tall. Each ice sculpture had no less than 10 indentations. Just as he had guessed, at least 10 Boundary Tower crystals were needed. There were even some that required 20 or 30 Boundary Tower crystals. However, there are much fewer treasures here than on the first level. Lin Feng looked around. There are less than 10 ice sculptures in his field of vision. If it were on the first level, there would be at least dozens. The quantity was at least 10 times worse. However, the quality is more than 10 times better. Lin Feng had already seen that the treasures in the ice sculptures were no longer top-notch Chaos Dark treasures like on the first level. Instead, they were all peak Chaos Dark treasures. Peak Chaos Dark treasures lay there quietly. On the Tung Chi continent, where treasures were rare, the number of peak Chaos Dark treasures here was enough to make anyone go crazy. So many. Lin Feng sighed. Even the peak Chaos Dark treasures he had were mediocre. In addition to the peak Chaos Dark treasures, there were even more precious fruits of heaven and earth and light of the Chan River. Looking at the fruits of heaven and earth here through the ice sculptures, one could feel their extremely tyrannical energy. As for the light of the Chan River, needless to say, Consuming 10 light of the Chan River on the first level might not be enough to raise one superior law to the top. However, 1 light of the Chan River here might be enough. Lin Feng's eyes sparkled. It would be a lie to say that he wasn't tempted. When one's strength reached the level of a Black Domain Master, one's law comprehension and realm were especially important. The T-Rex clone's Earthquake Law and Dark Magic had reached the top. If he comprehended the other 5 Earth laws to the top, just his physical body alone would be terrifyingly strong. If he focused on comprehending one of them, such as the Dark Demon Law, it was entirely possible to raise his Dark Magic Law to perfection. After all, the T-Rex clone had already swallowed and refined in Dishan's soul, so his comprehension of dark magic was astonishing. However, there aren't enough Boundary Tower crystals. Lin Feng felt a little regretful. The best light of the Chan River here cost 50 Boundary Tower crystals each. Given his wealth, he could only afford 2. 2 Boundary Tower crystals were not enough to raise his dark magic law to perfection. Even if he comprehended all 6 Earth laws to the top, he still wouldn't be able to do so. What a pity! Lin Feng shook his head and probed forward. If he could, it would be a great opportunity. However, even if he couldn't, it wasn't a big deal. After deducting the 10 Boundary Tower crystals needed to enter the second level, he still had 110 Boundary Tower crystals. It was enough to buy 2 of the best treasures here. Oh no! Lin Feng's eyes lit up. This level was somewhat different from the first level. The consumption of Boundary Tower crystals was much higher. The deeper he went, the greater the consumption. There were 60 Boundary Tower crystals, 70 Boundary Tower crystals, and even 80 Boundary Tower crystals. Lin Feng's eyes sparkled as he looked forward. There were 3 treasures in the depths, and they even required 100 Boundary Tower crystals. Moreover, behind the ice sculptures of the 3 treasures, there was another gate of light that was flickering with illusory light, blocking the way. There were a total of 100 holes above, which required 100 Boundary Tower crystals. There's actually a 3rd level in the Chan Tower. Lin Feng's heart thumped. The treasures on the 3rd level would be astonishing. Chapter 1547. Although Lin Feng was very interested in the 3rd floor, he knew that it was like a mirage. It was out of his reach. At least not now. Even if he spent 100 Realm Tower crystals, he wouldn't be able to buy any other treasures. He had to make the best use of everything. 110 Realm Tower crystals were quite useful at the moment. If placed on the 1st floor, it would be enough to buy a basket of treasures. However, quality was more important than quantity. Lin Feng's gaze landed on the 3 unique treasures at the end of the 2nd floor. Each of them cost 100 Realm Tower crystals. The first item was a flimsy cloak that looked like a cicada's wings. He couldn't tell what material it was made of, but it was very special, and its defensive power was definitely not bad. This was because a peak supreme grade, chaotic Cavern treasure was only worth 50 Realm Tower crystals. The second was a small golden pyramid. It was very mysterious, but it was frozen in ice. It was difficult to find out what it was used for. Lin Feng knew that he had to open the ice to find out what it was used for. The third was a strange seed. It seemed to have shocking vitality, but like the golden pyramid, it was unknown what it was used for. Lin Feng observed it for a long time before looking at the other treasures. These 3 treasures with 100 Sector Tower crystals would definitely be helpful, but it was still a question mark as to what use they had. Especially, how much could they improve his current strength and combat strength? Lin Feng didn't know. He didn't want to take the risk for now. I wonder who the new Baimang River King is. I wonder what the situation is at Baimang River now. Lin Feng thought to himself. He wanted to know more about the changes in the outside world as soon as possible. Know yourself and know your enemy. Only then can you win 100 battles. Information was very important. Right now, he was in Chan River. Once he left Chan Realm Tower, the real battle would begin. The Chan River Demon race was very xenophobic. Phew! Lin Feng let out a long sigh as his eyes flashed. Lin Feng carefully searched the 2nd floor again and again. Although the dazzling array of treasures tempted him, he didn't immediately exchange for them. He wasn't in a hurry. Returning to the 1st floor, Lin Feng exchanged for a black tower. He was left with 107 realm tower crystals. Then, he chose to leave. Outside the Wangyan Square, there was a heated discussion. Strange. Why isn't that chaos hole immortal coming out? That's right. It's been 2 days, but there's been no movement at all. Even if we entered the Chan World Tower to exchange for treasures, it wouldn't take that long. I must have been mistaken. This guy looks silly, but he's actually very smart. He probably has a lot of black blood on him. Everyone was fooled by him before. I'll teach him a lesson when we enter the 3rd checkpoint. He's just a chaos hole immortal. He's lucky to have made it this far. Once I finish him off at the 3rd checkpoint, all the treasures he exchanged for will belong to me. Haha, stop dreaming. You're not the only one coveting his treasures. Each of the high-level Black Domain Masters laughed, each with their own ulterior motives. Lin Feng's strength was too weak, and his Chaos Hole Immortal's strength naturally made the Chan River Demon race think about him. After entering the Chan World Pagoda for 2 days, it was obvious that he had exchanged for many treasures. Treasures aroused the envy of others. Their eyes were filled with greed and desire. Human nature was like that, and so was the demonic nature. Suddenly, whoosh, a bright light flashed in the crystal house, and the tyrant dragon avatar's huge figure walked out. It swept its gaze across the Chan River Demon race, and it was shocked and confused. What's going on? Lin Feng was stunned. It felt like he had returned to the past. The Chan River Demon race in the Imperial Palace's square was still vivid in his mind, and the current situation seemed like nothing had changed. Oh, Lin Feng somewhat understood what was going on. Expressionless, he quietly walked out of the crystal house and headed toward Yuanzhe. Everyone's greedy and vicious gazes converged on him. Lin Feng turned a deaf ear to them as he pondered in his mind. You're finally out, Brother Tang Feng. Yuanzhe smiled bitterly. Yes, I encountered some problems, Lin Feng said. How long have I been in there? A little more than 2 days, Yuanzhe said. Oh, Lin Feng nodded. In other words, the 300 years he spent in the Boundary Tower's alternate space was only 1 day here. Entering twice was equivalent to 2 days here. No wonder the Chan River Demon race looked at him like a lion or a tiger looking at a lamb. So they think I exchange for many treasures. Lin Feng smiled, not minding it. Brother Tang Feng, you can still smile. Yuanzhe looked around and said, look around. None of the Chan River Demon race is easy to deal with. When we enter the 3rd trial, they'll probably swarm you like a swarm of bees. Lin Feng looked around and said indifferently, didn't the king of North Chan River, Tang Ji, set up the crystal house here for this purpose? Yuanzhe was stunned and speechless. That's right. The king of North Chan River could have hidden the Chan World Tower completely. Why would he deliberately expose his location? Wasn't it for this reason? If there was a reward, there was a price to pay. How could the Chan World Tower's treasures be so easily pocketed? Don't worry. We still don't know what the 3rd trial will be like. Lin Feng smiled. If it was before he entered the crystal house, he might have been afraid. But now that his strength had greatly increased, he naturally wouldn't put these ordinary Chan River Demon race in his eyes. The number of Chan River Demon race that could truly threaten him wouldn't exceed 100. My opponents are them. Lin Feng glanced at the top 10 experts of North Chan River. He was very clear in his heart. As for the 3 strongest experts, he still had no chance of winning against them with his current strength. Time slowly passed. After Lin Feng came out, he originally had less than 3 days left. After entering the crystal house, he had used up 2 days. The little time he had left was used up after chatting with Yuanzhe for a while. As the Twin Mountains passageway closed, the atmosphere in the Imperial Palace Plaza instantly became tense and heavy. The Chan River Demon race that originally had smiles on their faces had entered battle mode. Their eyes shone with cold light as they waited for the 3rd trial to arrive. The last 2 trials, they would decide who the true king of North Chan River was. To the Chan River Demon race, this was a fatal attraction. Even the 3 strongest experts were no exception. It's here. Lin Feng's eyes flashed as he looked at the palace in the distance. The palace's crystal door slowly opened like a ferocious beast opening its bloody mouth. Looking inside, the imperial palace was filled with mystery and uncertainty. The king of North Chan River, Tang Ji, didn't appear. The entire plaza was silent. Suddenly, boom, the Chan River demon race rushed into the imperial palace. No one was willing to be left behind. The silent atmosphere instantly exploded. More than 1,000 Chan River demon race fought with all their strength to gain the upper hand. Lin Feng and Yuan Zhe looked at each other, nodded, and followed. Chapter 1548. There was no prompt for the third checkpoint. However, it was obvious that he had to enter the imperial palace. As for the details, he would know once he entered. The imperial palace has 108 ancestral spirits. Kill any one of them, and you will pass. Time limit, 10 years. An ancient voice sounded. Lin Feng's vision blurred as he entered the palace. What entered his eyes was a huge water secret realm. It was as if he had entered the Chan River. Shua, shua, shua. In an instant, numerous gazes were directed at them. Yin Zhe, who was standing beside Lin Feng, suddenly changed his expression. Those gazes were filled with greed and killing intent that were completely undisguised. Shit! Yuan Shi's reacted, but it was too late. The Chan River Devil Race members closest to him attacked Lin Feng without hesitation. Their sinister faces were filled with disdain. In their eyes, Lin Feng was like a piece of cheese that they could grab with their hands. However, a white barrier suddenly appeared around Lin Feng, blocking the attacks of the Chan River Devil Race members. On the other side, the Chan River Devil Race members did the same. The Chan River Devil Race members were forced back. They were dumbfounded, not knowing what had happened. Lin Feng smiled. He knew that this wasn't his defense, but the help of the third checkpoint. Killing was forbidden in the Imperial Palace, so these Chan River Devil Race members couldn't kill him. Or rather, they couldn't kill him. Damn it! The Chan River Monster Race's members were enraged, thinking that it was Lin Feng's defense that had forced them to retreat. Enraged, they unleashed their full strength and attacked Lin Feng again. Every Chan River Devil Race member here wasn't weak. Not only were they high-level Black Region Masters, but they were also elites. Yuan Shi's couldn't help at all. Although he was strong, he could only barely reach the level of a high-level Black Region Master. Every Chan River Devil Race member here was much stronger than him. Helping them was equivalent to courting death. However, the Chan River Devil Race members were forced back again and again. Lin Feng's expression didn't change. Yuan Shi's quickly understood and laughed. They couldn't kill Lin Feng, so they couldn't kill him either. The third checkpoint was relatively safe. I know, it's the Imperial Palace. Damn it, the Imperial Palace's power is protecting him. No, the Imperial Palace forbids killing. Damn it, those who could become high-level Black Region Masters weren't stupid. Chan River Devil Race. They looked at Lin Feng's. The prey was right in front of him, but he couldn't eat it. Wait and see. The Chan River Demon clan members cursed as they left, leaving behind Lin Feng and Yuan Zhe. They exchanged glances and smiled. We're in luck, Ruai said. Lin Feng smiled. Yeah, their luck isn't bad either. Yuan Shi's was slightly surprised, not understanding. Lin Feng said, let's go and see what the 108 ancestral souls of the Imperial Palace are. Yuan Shi's nodded, and the two moved forward. Soon, Lin Feng and Yuan Shi's entered the depths of the Imperial Palace. More than 1,000 palaces formed an Imperial Palace. It was like a high and mighty emperor leading his generals. There were more than 1,000 Chan River Devil Race members entering the third checkpoint, but it wasn't crowded at all. This is the Imperial Palace. Lin Feng's eyes lit up. It was much bigger, more glorious, and more imposing than any palace he had ever seen. North Chan River's Imperial Palace was extraordinary. I heard that the Imperial Palace has 3 layers. The outermost layer is the ordinary palaces, the inner layer is the Ancestral Hall, and the innermost layer is the North Chan Palace, Yuan Shi said. The Ancestral Hall should be in front. Lin Feng looked over. It was indeed different from the ordinary palaces they had seen along the way. Not only was the Ancestral Hall larger and more imposing, but it also had a majestic aura that made people respect it and not dare to be presumptuous. There are already many devil race members, Yuan Shi'ai said. Lin Feng nodded. He had seen them too. The Chan River devil race members were gathered together. Some were whispering and discussing. Some were frowning and thinking hard. Some glanced over when they saw the two of them, their eyes flashing. Ancestral Hall, Lin Feng muttered. It sounded like it was closely related to the ancestral souls. Stepping in with Yuan Shi'ai's, Lin Feng saw a huge statue with a human body and a fishtail. It looked like a mermaid, but it had a pair of wings on its back and a trident in its hand. It looked like a man and seemed out of place. Ancestral King Huang. 4 words were clearly engraved on the statue. Below, it was an introduction about the ancestral King Huang, his life story, his strength, and so on. Lin Feng glanced over and knew the gist of it. King Huang's strength was about the same as the 3 strongest ones. He was one of the best in the North Chan River. Below the statue was a huge crystal ball made from the Chan River's crystal. One was big and one was small like a gourd. What's the use of this? Lin Feng was curious. Suddenly, he saw a Chan River devil race member place his hand on the small crystal statue. It shone brightly, but in an instant, the small crystal statue dimmed. The Chan River devil race member spat out a mouthful of blood and fell backward. He was badly injured. What happened? Lin Feng was a little confused, not understanding what was going on. Before he could react, he saw another Chan River devil race member place his hand on the large crystal statue. The large crystal statue did not shine, but there was a flash of light. As the light faded away, the Chan River demon clan also disappeared. After waiting for a long time, he did not appear again. Lin Feng was shocked. He raised his head and looked at the ancestral King Huang. He was puzzled. His gaze swept over the ancestral King Huang's life story and introduction. Lin Feng guessed in his heart. After a while, Yanzei returned. Did you find anything? Lin Feng asked. Yanzei nodded. The 2 crystal statues below should be the key to obtaining the ancestral King Huang's soul. What do you mean? Lin Feng was curious. Yanzei said, when you enter the small crystal statue, a fragment of the ancestral King Huang's consciousness will appear. As long as you can defeat this fragment, you can obtain the ancestral King Huang's soul. That's impossible, right? Lin Feng frowned. How could an ancestral king who is comparable to the 3 strongest be defeated? No wonder that Chan River devil race member was badly injured. Lin Feng finally understood. But it was too difficult. How many Chan River devils in the entire North Chan River could defeat the ancestral King Huang? Other than the 3 strongest, there was probably no one else. The small crystal statue is not the real ancestral King Huang. It's just a fragment of his consciousness. Its strength is only 10% of normal, and its attacks are predictable. Yanzei smiled bitterly. Even so, defeating the ancestral King Huang is harder than ascending to the heavens. Only the North Chan River's 10 strongest can do it. Lin Feng nodded. It was indeed difficult. What about the large crystal statue? What is it for? Lin Feng asked curiously. Chapter 1549. I'm not too sure either. Yuanzei shrugged, his eyes burning. All the Chan River demons who touched the crystal statue disappeared. None of them came out. Lin Feng nodded. His gaze fell on the crystal statue, and he fell silent. This was indeed strange. The hall has 108 ancestral spirits. You can pass if you slay one. Lin Feng muttered and looked at Yuanzei. There should be more than one ancestral hall. Let's go to the other halls. All right, Yuanzei said. There was no need to rush. There was still a long way to go before the 10-year time limit. Lin Feng and Yi Zichen carried doubts in their hearts as they headed to the other ancestral halls. It was very similar to King Huang's ancestral hall. Every ancestral hall had an ancestral statue and 2 crystal balls, one large and one small, that formed the shape of a gourd. Yuanzei was quite good at dealing with people. The other Chan River demons would give him face. However, just like King Huang's ancestral hall, none of the Chan River demons who touched the crystal balls came out. What happened? The 2 quickly went to more than 30 ancestral halls. More than 1,000 Chan River demons were scattered in the ancestral halls. Many of them were trying to challenge the remnant spirits of their ancestors. However, those who could enter the ancestral halls were all super experts from different eras in North Chan River. Even the weakest of them was comparable to the current top 10 experts of North Chan River. Even if they only had 10% of their strength, how could they be defeated so easily? The 31st Ancestral Hall. Oh, Lin Feng was surprised. The moment he entered, he felt completely different. Not only did this ancestral hall not have any aura or pressure, it did not feel suffocating. Instead, it was very peaceful, like an empty house. Lin Feng's gaze fell on the crystal ball below the statue. It was dim and completely different from the previous 30. Even the statue seemed to have lost its spirit and spirit. I understand. Lin Feng understood immediately. Yuan Zhe nodded and exclaimed, "The ancestral spirits of this ancestral hall have been taken away." Lin Feng nodded. "If I'm not wrong, it should be the 3 strongest experts. Only they could defeat the remnant consciousness of their ancestors in such a short period of time without shedding a drop of blood. Of course, the top 10 experts of the Northern Chan River could also do it, but other than them, how many other Chan River Yao clan members could do it? Very few. The large crystal statue at the bottom should be another way to obtain the ancestor's soul," Lin Feng said. "Otherwise, there would be very few Chan River demon clansmen who could make it to the 4th checkpoint. Moreover, judging from the personality of the king of the Northern Chan River, Tangji, the 3rd checkpoint wasn't just about strength and combat. It would also give the other types of Chan River demons a chance. That large crystal sculpture should be an independent world," Lin Feng said. "Oh," Yuan Zhe's eyes lit up. Lin Feng said, "Most likely. Touching the crystal will send you to a different dimension." In any case, he had stayed in the different dimension of the Boundary Tower for 600 years, so he knew a lot about it. However, he did not know how he would be able to obtain the souls of his ancestors in that alternate space. The only thing he could be sure of was that the chances of obtaining the ancestor's soul with the help of the large crystal statue was definitely higher than with the small crystal statue. In itself, the size of the two was enough to explain the problem. They were not in a hurry to enter. Lin Feng and Yuan Zhe continued to explore the other ancestral halls. In Yuan Zhe's words, they were looking for an ancestral hall with the least competition. However, what he thought of, the other Chan River demons also thought of. There were a total of 108 ancestral halls, but there were more than 1,000 Chan River demons participating in the 3rd checkpoint. In other words, on average, there were no less than 10 Chan River demons in each ancestral hall. The competition was very intense. "Let's go with this one. They're the least number of demons," Yuan Zhe said. Lin Feng smiled and said, "How do you know that they're the least? Perhaps the other Chan River demons entered the alternate space before us?" "That's true." Yuan Zhe's mouth twitched as he smiled bitterly. "We can't care so much. We have to give it a try. Everything is difficult at the beginning, right? Let's go. Let's enter together." Lin Feng agreed. He was also very curious about this ancestral hall's alternate space. He wanted to know what it was like inside. Moreover, there were 10 years. There was no rush. While Lin Feng and Yuan Zhe entered the ancestral hall's alternate space one after the other. This ancestral hall's alternate space, called Qianming, was filled with tricolored poisonous gas. Not only did it corrode flesh, even an undying body would find it difficult to resist. More terrifying was it could also corrode souls. This was a Yin-type ability created by ancestor Qianming by combining his innate talent. It had reached perfection in the laws of Yin. It filled the entire alternate space, forming an invisible pressure. "If you walk the path of the laws of Yin, you should be like a fish in water," Lin Feng said. As for the other Chan River demons, he had to split a portion of his strength to resist them. The difference in strength was significant. It was the same for the Tyrant Dragon avatar. He used the laws of earthquake to disperse the tricolored poisonous gas before it even got close. It was not difficult for Lin Feng. He just needed to expend some strength. How do we obtain the ancestral souls here? Lin Feng looked around. He did not know where to go or where he was. He frowned slightly. Are we looking for it, or something else? Puzzled, Lin Feng spread his aura, but he did not sense Zhe. It seems that every entrance leads to a different area. Lin Feng didn't mind. He and Kong Zhe were just acquaintances to begin with. They couldn't be considered friends. They were just like-minded companions. Now that he was strong, he naturally did not care. He was free when he was alone. Let's look around. Lin Feng was not in a hurry. After all, he was here to play. He did not expect to obtain the ancestral souls here. After all, it was his first time. It was more realistic to figure out the pattern. The alternate space of the ancestral hall should not be too big. Lin Feng knew that if it was too big, it would take a long time to find it. 10 years would pass in the blink of an eye. Lin Feng was calm as he walked through the tricolored poisonous gas. The laws of earthquake protected his body. Not a trace of poisonous gas could approach him, let alone corrode his body. Lin Feng was no longer the ignorant person he used to be. Walking past the poisonous gas barrier, Lin Feng soon arrived at a shady valley. Birds chirped and flowers bloomed. Everything here made him feel incomparably novel. Before he could take a closer look at the shady valley, the red maple leaves floating down, and what secrets were hidden, the aura of a Black Region master quickly approached and revealed a ferocious face. The moment he saw Lin Feng, his green eyes lit up. I didn't expect to find this kid. The green-eyed demon laughed heartily. His eyes were filled with greed. He ground his teeth, and killing intent filled his body. Die, kid. All the treasures you exchange for will belong to me. Qing Ji. Ha ha ha. Chapter 1550. There were many demons from the Chan River who were eyeing Lin Feng at the palace square. Without enough strength to protect him, Lin Feng, who had entered the crystal house to exchange for treasures, was undoubtedly a hot commodity in the eyes of the demons. As long as they killed him, they would be able to obtain treasures. Even if they didn't, killing an immortal chaos hole wasn't that troublesome. If they killed him, then so be it. Qing Ji was no exception. He had been eyeing Lin Feng for a long time. However, there were too many demons from the Chan River who had their eyes on Lin Feng, so he never had a chance. Originally, he didn't have much hope and only thought about how to obtain the ancestor's soul and pass the third checkpoint. Who would have thought that? Extreme misfortune would bring bliss. He actually bumped into that hot commodity here. Chi, the green claws clawed straight at Lin Feng, gleaming with a cold light. Green Ji felt incomparably carefree. In his eyes, this chaos hole immortal was like a prey that had no strength to struggle at all, and all he needed to do was grab lightly. Kacha! The sound of breaking rang out along with the falling of the red maple leaves. However, it didn't come from Lin Feng, but from his stupefied Qing Ji. His eyes widened in shock, and his veins bulged. Qing Ji's eyes were filled with shock as he looked at his broken claw, completely suffocating. This, roar! Qing Ji let out a shrill howl of pain as green blood sprayed out from her body. However, in the next instant, his mournful howl came to an abrupt end as the cold light cut off his head. His bloodshot eyes were still wide open, filled with fear and disbelief. How is this possible? Qing Ji's head was separated from his body, and this was the only thought left in his mind. He couldn't understand what had happened. How could a mere immortal chaos hole have such terrifying strength? He was an advanced master of Black Region with such tyrannical strength, yet he actually lost to an immortal chaos hole. Moreover, he didn't even have the strength to resist. Pong! Lin Feng smashed Qing Ji's head, and his eyes flashed. Such an advanced master of Black Region was only at the most ordinary level and couldn't pose a threat to him at all. Seems like we all entered the same space in the Ancestor Palace. Lin Feng understood. In other words, they were in the same position, fighting for the only ancestral spirit. On average, 10 Chan River monsters will fight for one. The probability is still quite high, but Lin Feng's gaze swept across the tree-shaded valley. Even if there were 100 or even 1,000 Chan-He demons in the alternate dimension of the Ancestral Hall, they might not be able to obtain the ancestral soul. However, how was he going to obtain the ancestral spirit? In fact, what was the ancestor's soul like? Lin Feng was confused. The only thing he knew now was that the ancestor's soul was definitely in this ancestral hall. Furthermore, judging from the environment of this alternate dimension, the Chan River Demon clan, who was compatible with their ancestor, would have an even greater advantage. The Law of Yin. Lin Feng frowned slightly. Naturally, this wasn't his forte, but the problem was that even if he wanted to leave, he didn't know. Where is the exit? I can only take one step at a time. Lin Feng went deeper into the shady valley. Where's the ancestor's soul? Lin Feng was not the only one wondering about this. There were 5 Chan River demons searching the alternate space of ancestor Qian Hui's ancestral land. Including Ming Zhe and Lin Feng, there were 6 of them. However, this wasn't all. The alternate dimension wasn't sealed, and there was no first come, first served rule. Just like cultivation, age didn't matter. As time passed, more and more Chan River Yao clan members would enter. After all, killing wasn't allowed in the Imperial Hall. The number of Chan River monsters wouldn't decrease as quickly as at the second checkpoint. This place shouldn't be very big. Lin Feng searched around. If this area was big, he wouldn't have encountered other Chan River monsters so quickly. Even if he was lucky, it wouldn't be to this extent. How was he going to find the ancestor's soul in such a small area? Or rather, where's the exit? Lin Feng frowned slightly. This was also very important to him. If he could find the exit, he didn't need to stay behind to search for the ancestor's soul. After all, with his current strength, he could use another method to obtain the ancestor's soul, challenge the ancestor's remnant consciousness. Without any clues, he could only search around. Lin Feng believed that as long as the ancestor's soul was in this alternate dimension, there would definitely be clues left behind. I'll try to find Feng Zhe first. 2 heads are better than 1. After all, he knows more about the Chan River monsters than I do. Lin Feng thought to himself. He didn't have any other good ideas at the moment. Soon, Lin Feng left the valley. Ancestor Qian Hui's alternate space was an independent world. There were also living beings in this world, but unlike the Chan River, where there were many different types of life elements, the living beings here all cultivated the Law of Yin. Moreover, there weren't many Black Region Masters. The so-called powerhouses usually referred to immortal chaotic holes. Qian God Mountain? Lin Feng was surprised. Yes, it was a monster that looked very similar to the Qian God ancestor. The monsters here all had the same form and looked very similar to the Qian God ancestor. It was as if they were carved out of a model. That is the birthplace of our Father God. It is the source of life for our Qian God clan, said the Qian God ancestor. Lin Feng nodded lightly. He had been here for 10 days and gradually understood the environment here. However, he still didn't have a complete grasp of the terrain. The alternate dimension was filled with tricolored poisonous gas. Coupled with the obstruction of the Law of Yin, it was very difficult to accurately search. Many thanks. Lin Feng thanked him. After bidding farewell to the Qian God ancestor, he set off. He felt like he was in an illusion, but it was so real. Every life here seemed to be real. After leaving the tribe, Lin Feng immediately rushed toward the Qian God Mountain. Knowing the precise direction and location made it much easier to find the ancestor. The Qian God ancestor is like the Qian God ancestor of the Qian God clan. Therefore, the Qian God Mountain is very likely the place where the ancestor's soul is buried. When in Rome, do as the Romans do. Lin Feng set off as soon as he heard any useful information. He didn't want to be left behind. Indeed, he was completely unfamiliar with this place. However, there were people who were familiar with this place. The Qian God clan members here naturally knew their birthplace like the back of their hands. The ancestor's soul should still be here. It hasn't been taken away. That's why I can stay here safe and sound. As for the exit, maybe there is, maybe there isn't. Lin Feng thought to himself. He had asked many Qian God clan members and didn't believe that there was an exit here. After all, if there really was one, the Qian God clan would have left long ago. It was precisely because there wasn't one that they were trapped here. There are only two possibilities for leaving. Either I get the ancestor's soul, or the other Qian god clan members get the ancestor's soul. Lin Feng's eyes burned. Chapter 1551. Divine Qian Mountain was located at the peak of the polar region. To enter Divine Qian Mountain, one had to cross the ocean and find the paradise amidst the endless three-colored poisonous gas. They had to find the only mountain of life. Divine Qian Mountain was the sacred ground of every Qian Shui clan expert. They longed to enter the sacred ground and return to the embrace of Godfather. Every year, countless experts of the Qian Shui clan would travel across the ocean to search for the Qianshan Mountain. However, only a few of them were able to find it. This was a kind of belief, an obsession in the hearts of every expert of the Qian Shui clan. It's here again. Lin Feng looked at the boundless ocean with surging waves. He had come to this region before and entered the ocean to search, but to no avail. He didn't expect Divine Qian Mountain to be so close. Unlike the Qian Shui clan experts, it should be much easier for him to find Divine Qian Mountain. Not only him, but the other Black Region Masters would also come here as soon as they heard the news. Lin Feng looked around and didn't see any other Chan River demons. He wasn't in a hurry. As long as he entered Divine Qian Mountain, he would definitely meet them. Divine Qian Mountain sat high above the clouds amidst the three-colored poisonous gas. At the foot of the mountain, there were already 4 Chan River demons waiting. There were 3 advanced Black Region Masters and 1 Chaos Hole Immortal. This Divine Qian Mountain has so many rules. You have to gather 5 before you can enter. The advanced Black Region Master, Qi Wu, cursed. He had a bad temper and was the most anxious. Yeah, we don't know how long we have to wait. The other advanced Black Region Master, Jian Ting, also showed some impatience. The willow-like antennae on his forehead swayed gently. On the other hand, the only Chaos Hole Immortal was the most shocked. He smiled and waited patiently. Currently, there were only 2 Chaos Holes who had reached the 3rd checkpoint, Lin Feng and Yuan Zhe. I wonder if the next one will be Brother Tang Feng. Yuan Zhe looked at the other side of the ocean. He had just arrived and knew the rules of Divine Qian Mountain. There was no need to hide anything. The alternate space directly told them. The ancestor's soul was buried on Divine Qian Mountain. However, in order to enter the Qianshan Mountain, they had to gather 5 Chan River Demon race members to enter together. Here, the first to arrive was the advanced Black Domain Master Jian Ting, followed by Qi, who had been silent all this time. Like in Zhe, Lin Wu was the last to arrive. I hope Swarm Brother can find this place soon. Jian Ting looked into the distance, his eyes shining. Just like Lin Feng and Yuan Shi's eyes, he entered with his Swarm Brothers and was separated after entering. Naturally, he hoped that one of the other 4 Chan River Demon Clan members who entered the Qianshan Mountain would be one of his own. If they helped each other, they would be able to gain a lot of advantages. Zhe, who had been silent all this while, glanced at Jian Ting coldly. He was the most scheming person here. Lin Wu did not know who he was, but he knew that Jian Ting had a Sworn Brother who came here with him. Hurry up, you're making me anxious. Lin Wu was anxious and had a bad temper. They had been waiting for a long time. Oh, Lin Feng's eyes lit up. Although he didn't find Qianshan Mountain, he did bump into other Chan River Demon tribe members. This was the second one he met here. They were both advanced Black Domain Masters. Meeting them here was enough to prove that his guess was right. The other Chan River Demon clan members must have received the news and rushed here. Ha! Lin Feng suddenly laughed. When he discovered the other party also discovered him. Furthermore, just like the first Black Domain Master he killed, the other party recognized him. The other party's blue eyes were bloodshot and filled with greed and killing intent. Howl! With a roar, the Chan River Demon clan member charged over, a cold wind blowing. The strong fluctuation of the Law of Yin was like a fish in water here. Its strength increased by a level. The originally top-notch Law of Yin could even unleash its full power here. However, that was all. The law is strong, and I have the advantage. Lin Feng's eyes lit up as he waved his claw. Vigorous energy shot out. The essence of the blade art was contained within. His body turned deathly white, both real and illusory. The concept was illusory and blurry, and it contained an extremely powerful realm. Boom! Turning defense into offense, his strength was fully displayed. Lin Feng's current realm of strength was quite terrifying. Complemented by his powerful body, his blade art was the icing on the cake. In this area where elemental energy was thin, he didn't need to rely on law power to display astonishing strength. Peak Immortal Chaotic Hole. How can he be so strong? The advanced Black Domain Master, who was originally full of himself, was shocked. His powerful attack came to an abrupt halt, and his body was completely stiff, unable to move. He's only an immortal chaotic hole. Impossible. With the last remaining consciousness in his mind, he let out a mournful roar. The advanced class Black Domain Master had only used one move before he was crushed by Lin Feng. Admittedly, his strength was not weak, but Lin Feng's strength was stronger. One had to know that if the current Lin Feng was outside, in his peak state, he could even compete with the top 10 experts of North Chan River. Ordinary high-level Black Domain Masters were nothing to worry about. Greed. First of all, you need to have the strength to be greedy. Lin Feng smiled indifferently. His body shook slightly, and the remaining monster blood on his body instantly dissipated. His eyes flashed. Lin Feng was slightly surprised. In the distance, deep within the clouds, something was faintly discernible. Although it was covered by the three-colored poisonous gas, its hazy appearance could still be seen. It looked like a tall mountain. It can't be. Lin Feng's mouth suddenly rose. His body flashed, and in an instant, he disappeared into the clouds. The shadow in front of him gradually disappeared. As he got closer, he quickly saw the true appearance of the mountain. It was the Qianshan mountain he had been searching for. It was deep within the clouds, so it was quite difficult to find. Just the surrounding three-colored poisonous gas alone was a natural barrier. No wonder I couldn't find many experts of the Qianshan clan. Lin Feng sped forward. The three-colored poisonous gas was extremely poisonous. It would corrode an immortal body upon contact. Even an advanced Black Domain Master had to be careful when dealing with it. This is the Qianshan mountain. Lin Feng's heart leaped with joy. The journey had been smooth and uneventful. Although they had encountered a few small troubles along the way, it was just the right time to be happy. His luck was quite good. The Yin Law was extremely powerful. The closer he got to the Qianshan mountain, the more careful Lin Feng became. This was the origin of the Qianshan ancestor, and there was a high possibility that the ancestor's soul was buried here. Ta! Lin Feng landed on the ground of the Qianshan mountain. Four pairs of eyes looked at him simultaneously. They were filled with excitement, hostility, and joy. And Zhe smiled. Lin Wu clenched his fists and roared. He couldn't wait any longer, and was still expressionless and completely silent. Suddenly, Jian Ting's eyes turned red. With a thunderous roar, he charged at Lin Feng. "Give me your life." Jian Ting was hysterical and completely ferocious. Chapter 1552. Jian Ting's sudden attack stunned the rest of the Chan River Demon race. Lin Wu's eyes widened as he watched Jian Ting charge at Lin Feng. He cursed in his heart. They had waited so long for the 5th Chan River Demon race to enter the sacred Qian Mountain. If they were killed by Jian Ting, all their efforts would have been in vain. Who knew when the next one would come? Yuan Shi's did not expect this at all. Even if he did, he could not stop it. Jian Ting was not an ordinary Dark Region master. Only Lin Feng's expression did not change. He was different from Yuan Shi's. He had been on guard ever since he entered the mountain. After all the Chan River Demon race he met along the way were targeting him. How could he not be on guard? Although this tentacled Chan River Demon race was stronger than the two he had killed previously, he was not one of the top 10 North Chan River experts. Swoosh! Lin Feng's eyes lit up. Just as he was about to counterattack, another aura appeared. Bai's snake-like tail whipped over like a huge python and coiled around Jian Ting. The two Yin auras collided and sparks flew everywhere. "Calm down," Bai said coldly. Jian Ting's eyes were bloodshot. He was furious. "Let me go, Bai. He killed my sworn brother." Lin Feng's eyes flashed. He instantly understood. The Black Domain Master that he had just killed should be his so-called sworn brother. Calm down. Bai's voice was stern as he shouted. The aura of a fierce god caused Jian Ting to calm down. He panted heavily and glared at Lin Feng. However, he did not dare to act rashly. Lin Feng did not speak. He just watched quietly. He glanced at Bai. He was obviously stronger than the tentacled Chan river demon race. In Chan River, strength spoke louder than words. However, he had never met Bai before. Why would Bai help him? Just as he was wondering, a sinister voice came from the front. He. Welcome to the sacred Qian Mountain, brothers and sisters. A sinister wind blew, and the clouds in the void moved. It was like a face with a strange and cold smile, rumbling loudly. His voice carried a hint of disdain and disdain. The seal on the Qian Shan Mountain was unlocked in an instant, and the scenery on the mountain was refreshed. You want the souls of your ancestors? Come in. The eerie laughter reverberated through the mountain call like sound waves. Even the air seemed to be vibrating. The towering Mount Qian seemed incomparably huge under the cloud face. In an instant, Peng, the cloud-like face shattered into pieces and turned into 21 streams of light that shot out. 16 of them flew towards Qian Shan Mountain, while the other 5 shot towards Lin Wu and Jian Ting, Feng Zhe, and Lin Feng. Ha! Lin Feng reached out and grabbed it. In an instant, it disappeared into his body, and a small petal-like shape appeared on the back of his hand. Oh! Lin Feng's eyes flickered. Jian Ting and the other 4 Chan River demons were the same. A petal appeared on the back of each of their hands. Hua! The aura in the void became stronger and stronger. It was scattered around Qian Shan Mountain and was very clear. The tricolored poisonous fog suddenly drifted out and enveloped the Qian Shan Mountain, making it difficult to see what was inside. Go and find my consciousness doppelgangers. Every doppelganger has a soul fragment. Whoever obtains the most will obtain my ancestor's soul. Remember, without any soul fragment, you cannot form my ancestor's soul. He. The laughter grew fainter and fainter. The cloudy face faded and disappeared into the 3-colored poisonous fog. Find the consciousness doppelgangers and obtain the soul fragments. Lin Wu, Jian Ting, and then looked at each other. Almost at the same time, the 3 experts shot out like arrows and disappeared into the 3-colored poisonous fog. No one wanted to be left behind. Qiansha Mountain was not big. There were only 16 consciousness doppelgangers left. First come, first serve. On the other hand, Zhe was not anxious at all. He looked at Lin Feng and smiled while shrugging his shoulders. Aren't you going to snatch it? Lin Feng smiled. Isn't Brother Tang Feng the same? Zhe raised his eyebrows. The man and the beast looked at each other and smiled. It was too dangerous just now. Brother Tang Feng, Jian Ting, is very strong. Even among the high-level Black Domain Masters, he is one of the best. Zhe sighed. Right. Lin Feng nodded. Zhe smiled. Fortunately, and stopped him. Otherwise, you would be in trouble. Ha! Lin Feng smiled. Zhe sighed. This ancestor Qianming really has many tricks. Qiansha Mountain is not big. It is too easy to find 16 doppelgangers. So, it shouldn't be as simple as finding them, Lin Feng said. Zhe nodded. But luckily, ancestor Qianming has many tricks. Waving his right hand, Zhe said, this thing is like a possession talisman. Now, who dares to touch us? Without a soul fragment, they could not form their ancestor's soul. Yes, Lin Feng smiled casually. Without further explanation, Lin Feng said to Zhe, there were 21 streaks of light just now. There are 21 soul fragments in the ancestral soul. There are 5 monster race members, and each of them has 4 fragments. If one of them obtains 5 fragments, they will win. But it's not that simple. Zhe said, it's impossible for each of them to obtain 4 fragments. Lin Feng nodded. There are 16 soul fragments on Qian Shan Mountain. Only by obtaining 8 of them can one win. At least 4, at most 8. Zhe said, and there seems to be no time limit. There are many variables in this game. Won't we know once we play? Lin Feng said. In fact, the key was not to obtain the ancestor's soul. In his opinion, it was better to end it early and leave early. This was not the only place one could obtain the ancestral spirit. Let's part here. Good luck, Brother Tang Feng. And Zay smiled. You too. They looked at each other and smiled, planning their own futures. Lin Feng watched Zay leave, his eyes flashing. Although he had a good relationship with Zay, in the end, they were just ordinary friends. If he was in danger, Zay would not save him. He seemed easy to get along with because of the environment he grew up in. Being born in a famous family, Zay treated everyone the same. Friends, Lin Feng smiled. In comparison, Tang Xian was much more sincere than Zay. Of course, in Chan River, his only friends were the White Wheel tribe in Tang Xian's territory. The sooner I save Tang Xian, the sooner I can leave with the White Wheel tribe, Lin Feng thought to himself. Currently, he had enough strength to protect the White Wheel tribe, not only in North Chan River, but also in northern continent. A mere mid-sized wingman tribe was nothing. Dozens of six-winged wingman kings for intermediate black domain masters, and the strongest one was close to advanced black domain master. At that time, he had to be wary of such combat strength. But now, wiping out the Qi clan is as easy as lifting a finger. Lin Feng smiled and disappeared into the three-colored poison mist. He stepped into Qianshan Mountain,